Hello. Oh. Good morning, everyone. If we want to find seats or kind of get organized, we're going to get the program started because we've got lots of interesting information and things to share today. So, aloha kako. My name is Julia Alta. I'm Program Specialist for Developmental Disability Council. I'd like to welcome you today to the Traveling Mini Conference Legislative Forum, hosted by DD Council and LDAH. And this is my friend and colleague Leilani. We are so honored to have all of you today to raise awareness and continue to increase support for our community. And Leilani is wonderful, and we've been working together a long time on these events. So here's Leilani.
Aloha everyone, my name is Leilani Ka'iawa. I am a community leader and a parent of an 8, 20, and 20-year-old here on Hawaii Island. The first 3 years of my youngest son Jeremiah's life, who was hospitalized for 7 months at Kapilani Medical Center Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, was a time of reflection and a roller coaster of emotions, wondering how long he will need a feeding tube and what challenges he will face. 5 years ago, I attended my first Community Children's Council meeting in Kona, hoping to find resources to help with Jeremiah's feeding. Through them, I was able to learn about Special Parent Information Network, otherwise known as SPIN, attended their annual conference in 2019, where I met Mariah Nichols and Rosie with Leadership in Disabilities and Achievement of Hawai'i. One of our purpose is to help our families through providing resources, training, mentorship, and advocacy services that they can attend their next individualized education program, also referred to as IEP, prepared and be able to speak up and share their concerns and goals for their child. I clearly remember my very first IEP, and I hope today you find the resources and support for your family. Mahalo for being here. And I'll give it over to Julia.
Thank you. Now, I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, Sierra Whiteside. Sierra is a fierce advocate for disability rights, and I've had the honor of working with her for the past, year and a half? Yeah. So Sierra is going to be our MC today, and I'll give it over to her now.
Aloha kako. My name is Sierra Whiteside. I am the chairperson for the Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities. I am a native Hawaiian, born and raised here on the island of Hawaii. I will be your host for this part of our conference today. Today we would like to begin our program with an opening oli from Kahu La'akea Arisa. It's a video.
Aloha and good morning to the East Hawaii Traveling Mini Conference Legislative Forum. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to start our event off with an oli, or a blessing in Hawaiian. The first chant, or oli, is a permission oli. The second chant is a chant of purification. Liu liu wale kauka o kohola lele. Mauka makai o ka papala I ai. E komo aku ho'i au maloko. I nā ka pu'u nui o ahune lai ai. He anu e ai. He ko e vale noho ai. tia I mai ka po mai e nana ia mai ka hale o kako. Kia I ia e malama ia e pale aku I nā ho o piliko kako nohana. Mai ka hikina ke ko mohana, mai ka uka ahe kai, mai I loko I waho, kia I ia e malama ia e pale aku I nā ho o piliko kako nohona. A mamau ano a hae ai. Aloha and have a great event.
We choose the month of October for this event because the month of October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Here is Patrick Gartside, the president of the Hawaii chapter of the Association of People Supporting Employment First, to tell you a bit about the issue of employment for people with disabilities.
Aloha, good morning. My name is Patrick Gartside, and I serve as the chapter president of the Hawaii Association of People Supporting Employment First. We are a grassroots movement of people focused on equitable employment opportunities for people with disabilities. We believe that there is strength in a workforce that embraces diversity. We believe that everyone has value to contribute to their communities. And we believe that if people want to work, they should be supported in their pursuit. We believe that employment can change lives and transform communities.
Thank you, Patrick. Now today we would like to introduce Mayor Mitch Roth, who's going to present the Hawaii County Proclamation.
So I apologize for being so dressed down. We just had the YWCA's walk a mile in her shoes. Just got back from that, a little bit injured. But it's one of the events that I really wanted to be at. We did one in Kona not too long ago. I just gotta say, you guys are rock stars in what you do. Darren and Julia, you guys have come and talked to me several times. We're working on some things based on those talks to make it better. I love today's theme, Dream, Believe, and Achieve, I believe it is. And I'll tell you just a little story about myself. I'm a high school dropout. It's okay, don't worry, it ended okay. But I dropped out in the 10th grade, and as I was going through my life, someone told me something that's very similar to Dream, Believe, Achieve, and that is whatever the human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I believe that for just about everything that we have in life, is that if you can see it, you can conceive it, if you can believe it, then you can achieve it. And oftentimes we hold ourselves back because it's not they conceive, it's, I don't know if I can, versus, I'm going to. Because once you see it and you can believe it, then the next part is just doing the work. And if you just have to do the work, then it's possible. I'm just going to read the proclamation that we have here. It says, whereas October marks the 79th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, NDEM, established by Congress in 1945 to celebrate the invaluable contributions and talents of workers with disabilities in our workforce and economy. And whereas NDEM underscores commitment to ensuring that individuals with disabilities have access to meaningful employment opportunities, not just in October, but throughout the entire year. The official theme for 2024, Access to Good Jobs for All, exemplifies this vital mission. And whereas people with disabilities thrive when provided with inclusive learning environments that offer innovative training, enhancing their employment prospects, productivity, and independence while breaking down barriers to equity and inclusion. And whereas Hawaii County supports the Employment First initiative, promoting reliable transportation, affordable housing, and high-quality education and workforce training to support a more inclusive job market. And whereas Hawaii County is dedicated to cultivating a diverse workforce, actively engaging in community members, leaders, educational institutions, and rating organizations in this important mission. And whereas we commend the citizens, organizations, agencies, and businesses in Hawaii County that prioritize the inclusion of individuals with disabilities in their employment strategies, recognizing that progress demands long-term commitment and collaboration from leaders statewide. Now, I therefore, Mitch Roth, Mayor of the County of Hawaii, do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Hawaii County Disability Employment Awareness Month. And urge all citizens to take proactive steps year-round to advance employment first by actively recruiting, hiring, retaining, and promoting individuals with disabilities, and to work towards full integration and participation for every member of our community. Thank you so much. I want to thank especially the providers and those businesses out there. Thank you for everything you do. You are really heroes, making a difference. And I just want to thank everybody for attending. This is a super important topic that you guys are discussing here today. And like I said, it was important for me to make sure that I was here to celebrate you and what you're doing. Have an amazing day on purpose. Aloha.
Thank you, Mayor Roth. We appreciate you for coming, for working with our community to address this issue. We would like to personally thank you for taking the time to meet with me and Julia to fix the lack of transportation that keeps me from being able to fully participate in our community. Also, here's Guava Jam that Julia
Thanks.
Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate you being here to bring important information about finding work, and we look forward to working with you on this and other matters that affect our community. Patrick, for life, goodwill, and others have exhibitor tables at the back. Everyone make sure to stop by their tables to get more information about finding meaningful work. For our opening speaker today, I would like to present Rylan Arias, Youth Ambassador for Hawaii for Tourette's Association of America, and his mother, Christy, to talk about their experiences.
Aloha everybody, good morning. My name is Christy Arias and I am here today to talk a little bit about our journey with Tourette syndrome. I am the chairperson for the NorCal Hawaii chapter through the TAA. This coming past year, I just made chairperson. I just wanted to take some time, just a little bit of time to talk about how it is in the beginning when you're trying to find a diagnosis, when you know something is wrong with your child, but there's not enough resources, and how frustrating it can be. And throughout that journey, for me, it was just about learning, just going on Google and searching on what we can and communicating with our pediatrician, actually painting pediatricians, and through all of that journey, it takes about a year to get diagnosed for Tourette. During that year, all that we went through just kind of was just really exceptionally hard for my son, and for us to see him go through that. And so to finally getting a diagnosis of Tourette syndrome was such a relief, because we know what it is. We know what's going on. And my next thought was, well, what do I do? Where's the help? Where's the support? And there's really none. And so from the love and the support from my husband, he is right here. Richard, do you want to stand up real quick? This is Dad. With the love from my dad and of course my daughter Maya, who's not here today, just their support pushed us further to find strategies and find support. And so Rylan now would like to just talk about his journey thus far with you all. So thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Rylan Arias. I'm a youth ambassador and advocate for Tourette syndrome. I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at age 12 around the start of 7th grade. It was tough, I'm gonna be honest. This neurological condition that just appeared out of thin air, a new factor that would shape my very being, was a lot for an adolescent. In school I faced many challenges varying from academics to peers to this fitting in. My first conflict with another individual for having this disability was with a school cop, a community officer, a person of the law. I was in trouble for profanity from my corporalia. I faced conflict because of something that I couldn't control and continuously did even after I told him of my condition. Aside from that experience, I had a lot of issues with school in terms of getting the needs I required. There was constant fighting, constant conflict. My grades were dropping because I could not get the help I needed. Flash forward a bit after a bunch of research that we seek and trot out. I see myself in the Youth Ambassador program. I was trained to be an advocate, to do presentations. A program where I was with other people that shared the same disability, that shared the same drive I had to advocate. I learned how to polish and strengthen my advocating ability. After I finished my training, I kept moving forward into advocacy. I started finding a goal that I wanted to strive for. I found a somewhat purpose, one might say. But you see, I alone cannot steal the spotlight. My family has played a huge part in putting me here today. For example, my mom. My mom has constantly supported my goals that I'd hoped to achieve. Without her, I wouldn't be an advocate. I wouldn't be the first youth ambassador for Tourette syndrome in Hawaii. Without her and the inclusion of us in the North Cal Hawaii chapter, I wouldn't have been able to make a difference in my community. I am now 15 years old. I am a youth ambassador for the Tourette Association of America and an advocate for Tourette syndrome and people with Tourette syndrome. My advocate potential does not stop there. I am not only an advocate for Tourette's, I am an advocate for co-occurring conditions, and I am an advocate for my community. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. I saw Christy doing something with the button, so I got worried. Okay, you ready?
Thank you, Rylan, and thank you, Christy, his mom, for that talk. And this concludes our opening of our traveling mini conference. Here is Leilani from LDAH, who will be introducing the speaker moving forward.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Okay. Okay, as we have our next speaker coming up, the title of her presentation is Unlocking Potential Using Assistive Technology to Promote Independence. After receiving a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Therapy from Colorado State University, Jen Brez has 15 years of experience as occupational therapist in a school setting. She worked with students from 3 to 21 with various abilities and needs and collaborated with school staff and parents to increase positive outcomes. With her OT practice, she focused heavily on the value of assistive technology for independence and academic success. To expand her knowledge and ability to leverage assistance technology, she earned a Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Assistive Technology from George Mason University. Since joining ATRC, Jen has expanded to working with people across the lifespan and throughout the state to increase their participation through assistive technology. And I'd like you to present Jen Brez.
Good morning. Hang on a second. Okay, so as she said, I am from the Assistive Technology Resource Centers of Hawaii. Go to the next slide. Do I have control of that? Okay, so assistive technology, lots of people think that that's always your high-tech kinds of things, iPads, smartphones, but it's actually, it spans across from all the way from low-tech to high-tech. The technical definition is any item, piece of equipment, software program, or product system that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of persons with disabilities. I have a few samples as we get into it today of what it can include, and then we can have some questions to see if anybody has questions about it. So ATRC operates under the 21st Century Assistive Technology Act. Every state and territory has a program like ours. Our big functions, we have a device lending library, so all of the things that I'm going to share with you today, you can borrow from us, and then we also have a more expansive library that you can look through, and I can help you look through if you need help, so that you can borrow items before you decide to purchase them to see if they'll really work for you. We also do device demonstrations, so if you want, I can, or one of our staff can meet with you and demonstrate things and kind of go through some options and problem solve with you. We have an assistive technology exchange program, so people can give us AT that they're not using anymore. A lot of the time we'll get kind of like durable medical equipment where it's like a shower chair or walker or something like that, and then we can get it back out to someone who needs it at no charge. We do AT consultations, like I mentioned. We have a low interest financing program, so it's run through American Savings Bank. So if you qualify for a low interest loan through them, you can get funding for assistive technology anywhere from $1,000 to $30,000. And we are a statewide program. Our office is in Honolulu. However, I do live on the Big Island, so I'm kind of the neighbor island representative and have been tasked to expand us to the other islands. So just as a kind of overview of what assistive technology can include, I tried to make some nice lists, and I'll do some demonstrations of things. So there are lots of things that you can use for academics. I'd actually like to do a reading demo right now. And I apologize for the awkwardness of holding the microphone and trying to demo it. every computer, laptop, tablet, and smartphone that exists now has a very robust setting accessibility features built into it. So a lot of these things you can just activate and they will work for you without having to buy anything new, without having to get any other extra devices. And then on top of that, there are lots of free apps that will do some of these same things. So the one that I'm going to demonstrate right now, and hopefully it all works correctly, is called Seeing AI. And so I'm going to take a picture of this page in the book, and hopefully it's going to read it.
Document full sentence. Processing. No evidence visible. Full sentence. Processing. Mount of Sorrow 99, for details of the circumstances surrounding the unauthorized improvements being made by Imiloa Ranch, the lease gauge estate arrival.
So, that gives you an example of what it gives to the book. It will read it, you can pause it, and I believe on this one you can skip ahead on it. But there are lots and lots of apps and devices that will do similar things that we have. This one is actually really, really good at reading handwriting too. I know a lot of the devices have trouble with handwriting, so I'm going to show you that really quick.
Handwriting. Preview. Processing. Logitech do this as the first app that is accurate with handwriting.
Hang on. It took a picture of the remote.
Processing. Processing. This is the first app that is accurate with handwriting.
There we go. But on top of the reading settings and the things like that, so there are other things where, like this device, you can scan the words and it will read it to you. It has a headphone jack, so you can have headphones set to it. And then again, with like writing assistive technology, there are some physical items. So this is called a writing cursor. And in case you can't hold the pen completely, like you can tighten that in there and then move it with your entire hand. But then there are also technical things like in speech to text is honestly the easiest thing with the writing accommodations. There are predictive text, note-taking assistance, and then some similar things again for math. I have a talking calculator with me today. Anyone wants to try that out? And let's see, my next category. So is executive function. Lots of strategies, apps, visual timers. Unfortunately, I don't have one with me today, but we did just get some new ones into our lending library where it's a clock face, and then as you set the timer, it opens a wedge of red, and so then you can see the wedge of red getting smaller as your time is going. Really good for students with autism who sometimes can wind up watching, if you had a regular timer, they're just going to watch those numbers change. Where this, you just have that nice visual, and then they can see when the time is over. Then, assistive technology for sensory regulation is also a category. That's when we talk about active seating, having brain breaks and physical movements, using weighted items, chewing items, making sure that your lighting is good. And then kind of more the AT part would be sound blocking, noise canceling headphones, things like that, and white noise, either a kind of standalone white noise machine, or there are actually a lot of good apps for that too. So, communication apps, so there's kind of 3 levels to communication assistive technology. There's your high tech, your mid tech, and your low tech. High tech options, I have a nice sample app on here, which, hang on. So it's set a little bit small because someone had loaned this one out, and so they set it for that user. But you can make those icons bigger, where you can I believe you can set this one to even have just 2 pictures on the screen, all the way up to, I want to say 140. And so you can just click on buttons of your message, and then
I want all.
double click on the top to say the message all at once. So we do have, again, in our library, we have some tablets that have some of the major apps that you can borrow. There are also standalone devices that we can help you facilitate getting a loan directly from a company for. Mid-tech options are, so with the high-tech options, the screens are sort of layered, and so you can open a folder and open more and get in and get quite a bit of language on that. Some of the mid-tech options are what's called a static screen, so it's your 21 choices, and that's it on that page. And then you have to physically change it to get to another set, but for some people that is a better option. And then low-tech options are when you would just have some of these icons and things printed out. You can have those in different formats. There are, right now for trick-or-treating, it's pretty popular to have a little trick-or-treating wristband where you can point to that communication as your child can point to them as they go to the door to communicate with their trick-or-treating partner. The other thing that I have seen recently when I was looking for some beach-friendly AAC options was to have your basic communication board and then packing tape it to a 2-liter water bottle so that it'll float, so you're not going to lose it. And then with the packing tape, it's protected from the water as well, so that you can still communicate and not get your tablet device, broken in the water or with the sand, or damaged. That was the word I was looking for. So another area of assistive technology is activities of daily living. We have quite a bit in this area in the lending library, and we're trying to expand on that as well. I really like this cup where you can put your entire hand in case you can't hold the cup. You can use your whole hand and whole arm to be able to drink. We have some, I don't know what this means. We have some different utensils where it's a bigger grip on it. This one is actually also weighted, and then it is also bendable. So if you have to change the angle to get the food to your mouth, you can do that. We have some other utensils that I don't have with me today, but they are, they basically have like a gyroscope in them, and so they're anti-gravity. So in case you have tremors or something like that, and as you're shaking, that the surface will stay level, so you can keep the food on your utensil before it gets too long. Oh, let's see. Also, different ideas for grooming, and some of the grooming things we don't have in the library because it's a sanitary factor, but we can certainly problem solve through that with you and give you some ideas on what things that might work. Ideas for dressing, there are some really, really extensive adaptive clothing lines. Target, Amazon, and Tommy Hilfiger are some of the really robust places that have some amazing adapted clothing, including magnetic closures, Velcro closures, some different ideas for pants for wheelchair use and things like that. We do have some dressing sticks, sock aids, and this lovely little button hook zipper pull, which you stick through the button pull, grab the button, and then just pull it back. And then our category around recreation, just some ideas of different things. We do have some of these as well. We have a Braille Uno set. You can adapt board games, and that's kind of a problem-solving thing that I could help you with if you needed that. We have low vision cards. We have card holders that, so it's like a little plastic stand, and it'll hold your playing cards in it so that you can see it. Switch access for toys, beaver balls, ginger balls, magnifiers to see things. There are tabletop magnifiers, and then there are also like a magnifier in a stand where you can put your crafting underneath it so that you can have that enlarged. And then environmental controls, another big thing that is making leaps and bounds right now. So Echo, Alexa, and Google devices that you can coordinate with some home lighting, temperature controls, door locks, ring doorbells so that you can see who is at your door. There are also alerting devices for people who are hard of hearing, where like a smoke alarm will have a flashing strobe, or an alarm clock will have a bed shaker so that it'll wake you up with the shaking instead of an auditory alarm. Toys and games, and there are actually a lot of appliances these days that have environmental controls in them as well. I did some research on some washing machines for people with visual impairments about a month ago, and was really impressed with what is out there. Okay. So there's my contact information. Does anybody have any questions or want to see anything again? Yes? Yes. She asked if we were working with the DOE, and yes, we are working with them. And so that's another thing. Individuals and families can make loan requests, but agencies also can make loan requests as well. So if you had a teacher or a therapist at the DOE who needed a certain kind of switch to try, they can reach out to us and get that loan as well as they can. Anybody else? All right, sounds good. I think Leilani's out in the hallway, so. And also I do have a table with some informational sheets that are kind of specific. So like a sheet specific to school and work tasks, a sheet specific to communication. So if anyone is interested in those, please stop by.
Hello. Okay. Oh, yep. Here's Leilani.
Thank you so much, Jen. Beautiful job. I just want to, if you look into your tote bags, there's evaluation forms. If you could please go ahead and start filling those out throughout the conference. And at the end of the day, you fill out all and you return it to the registration office. You'll get a t-shirt. We really appreciate your feedback on our presenters. So we've had Jen, and we also have the Aries Ohana. So now take time.
Thank you. So at this point, we're going to deviate a little bit from the agenda, and we're going to move into talking about Cal's Law and Able accounts, yeah? Okay, and did you? Okay, all right, and this is Daedry Bartolus. She is the Executive Administrator for Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and she's my boss. Best boss ever.
Hey folks, thank you so much for this opportunity, Julia, and thank you everybody for being here. Really briefly, back at our table, Herman, can you wave? That's our guy Herman. He has a lived experience story to tell you folks about Able accounts. How he set it up. He did a great job to save his money to go on vacation. Tomorrow is his birthday, so he flew over to Hilo to see his friend, and he wouldn't have been able to do that if he wasn't able, excuse the able so much, to open up a savings account and save over $2,000 for his trip. So ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. There's handouts in the back there if you don't have it in your folders, and I encourage you to grab one. We're very strong advocates for ABLE Savings Program because it allows a person to save over $2,000 a month. Right now, if you save over $2,000 a month, you're in jeopardy of losing state and federal supports, such as Medicaid, SSI. And so to save over $2,000, and if you want to save up to get your own apartment one day, you're looking at $1,800 minimum in first and last month's rent. You'd never be able to do it. We've forced people to live in poverty and stay, below this level, below that level in order to get the support you need to survive. So that was ABLE accounts. So when we passed ABLE accounts, it was a federal level event in Hawaii. We're very happy about it. Then we realized legislature doesn't work that well. They'll pass the law, but it takes advocacy to implement the law. So it took us about 5-7 years to get it going, but it's finally going. Then our constituents came to us and said, hey, yes, I could save it, but I still can't make money. There we have our earned income disregard known as Cal's Law. Again, we have handouts on that. And this allows somebody to make between like $14 to $20 an hour full time and still keep their Medicaid. It does affect your SSI, and that's another thing, but it's okay. It's 50 cents on the dollar they'll take out. But SSI is just to help you out. If you can work and you're able to work, we encourage you to work, okay? And this allows you to work and keep your Medicaid. Cal's Law is named after an individual, Cal Silver, who was told he wasn't able to work. And that was just very devastating to a person if you said you can't work. If you work, you're going to lose all your benefits, and without your benefits, you could die. So what's your choice there? And it just was cruel. So we have been able to change that. With that story, I just want to really emphasize the importance of your lived experiences when you go through something for advocacy. We heard the young gentleman talk about advocacy, talking about your lived experience is so important. It took us 16 years to pass that earned income disregard Cal's Law because people just didn't understand the impact until we got people come up and tell their stories. So it's very important, advocacy in individuals, to make sure, and we're going to hear more from the legislators today, just how important your voice is. So I appreciate that. I had a quick 5 minutes, but I think we're waiting for other people, so I'm going to go a little bit on with that. So again, with Cal's Law, the earned income disregard, it helps you for Medicaid only. Earned income. You could make about $50,000 a year and still keep your Medicaid, okay? And then the ABLE account is for savings. So even if you take your earned income and put it into an ABLE account, it's still going to count because it's earned, okay? But back to the ABLE account, the cool thing about the ABLE accounts is there's two ways you could deposit money. One from gifts or your own from presents or maybe Christmas money or birthday money you may have gotten. You could go up to $18,000. Anybody, any loved one can contribute to your ABLE account up to $18,000. Your paycheck, the earned money part, could go to your ABLE work contribution. And you could get another $16,000 to $18,000 on that. So that's really cool. So you're not only $18,000, but with your work, you're able to save about $32,000. So that's really cool in the ABLE accounts. ABLE accounts came from the 529 college savings plan. What happened in Congress, people are saying I could save for my child without a disability for college and other things. Why can't I save for my child with disability? For decades, we're telling people don't do it because it's just going to hurt them in the long run. Do not. Make sure you keep them at zero, nothing in their name. And that just wasn't right. So the ABLE accounts is the offshoot from the 529 college savings plan. And when you hear the word ABLE, again, achieving a better life experience, everybody will ask, what can I spend the money on? It's really individualized. What will improve the quality of life for that person? It's for them. Medical, it could be for going back to school, taking some Parks and Rec classes, just joining a gym, whatever it is for that person that will help them achieve a better life and integrate and participate in their community. So we're really excited about these accounts. And again, you can go back, talk to Herman, and let you know all about it as well. Okay, Julia, that's all I have for the ABLE accounts in Cal's Law. Is there any questions? Yes?
What is maximum that you can save?
Maximum you can save without affecting anything is $100,000 without affecting your SSI. You could go up to $400,000 though if you're not concerned about SSI and Medicaid.
So that means if an individual does not qualify for SSI, and he's a minor individual, because it changes once they turn 18, correct? They become their own person and they have their own quote-unquote income. But if we have a minor child, then we can.
Yes.
What you just said though is that we can only contribute $18,000 towards that account.
A year. So $18,000 a year. So yes, for a minor child, you could open up an account for that child, and you can contribute up to $18,000. Another cool thing about it, it's all tax-free. So any interest. A savings account through ABLE is about a 5.16% interest. If I open up a savings account, I get about 1% maybe. Yeah, so this is a really cool account. You can do just a regular savings or you can invest. Again, all the interest from your investments is all tax-free. So that's a really good reason to do it. So we did a calculation, Fabiola and I, and we said if you do about $750 a year, the interest you earn, it costs $35 to have an ABLE account, will cover that cost. Okay, in a regular savings account, if it's lower than $300, it's about $5 a month. So it is a good deal with that. So it's a way to invest in the future of your child. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Dainty. So we're going to pivot again because we've been blessed with the presence of Kawila, who originally was scheduled to do an Ole this morning, and we thought you couldn't make it. And so we're excited that you're here, and we would like to welcome you to do that at this point, okay?
mana o he inu no maka oro la ipe mona Yesu te e tipe no haye pu e como mau e lo ua e hina no lau e ko une na fa i e Yesua me noa e me ke aku ele ue no au e iso no e me hue no au ia e ka whai e tu e me hue no e ke keki e ke lue o lua e me pahine no Iesue e me kua e ke kane e ke lono e ke whai e tue marine no ia e tua e kuino e whai e tue la hie no la ue kua marine no e ika whai e tue e ne hio no e kumu me kihe o kua ne ie ne ka whai e tu e re nu e re te e hue no nau e kai e kua e hinu nau e ka whai e tu e mai e mo e hilu no e kai minu no me whau i e tō ua e hinu no e ohana e io o kau whai e tu me nino o e kua e kekino me kekino o mau e tua e le ue no mau he iu kau e tu e mahia e nono e mahalo e kue kai e tu e mene Just know that you all are loved and blessed by us all.
Thank you, Cornelia. Thank you so much, Camila. And so at this point, we're going to move into our legislative forum, and I'm going to bring this over to Sierra.
Aloha kako. In case you weren't here earlier, I am Sierra Whiteside, the State Chair for Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Welcome to our 2024 Legislative Forum for East Hawaii Island. We would like to warmly welcome our legislator, our legislators from Hawaii Island. County Council Member Sue Lee Loy. And Representative Chris Todd. We appreciate you both being here to answer our questions. Please take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves. Let folks know your districts and your priorities.
Hi, sorry, we just finished soccer this morning, got rained out, just enough time to change shoes and all that. But I got here at 1 minute early, which felt late anyway. My name is Chris. I've been a state representative, mostly representing the Hilo area for the past 8 years now, which feels like it's really flown by. When I originally got in the very beginning of 2017, I was the second youngest member of the legislature. And I'm still one of the younger folks, but what's happened very quickly up at the Capitol is that the State House has turned over so many people to the point where I'm suddenly one of the most senior members, which is a very weird thing. In the past 2 election cycles, out of the 51 members of the House, we had 27 new members. Very, very few have institutional knowledge, and it's kind of a new experience. Having to be one of the most experienced members feels very weird and very quick. A couple of years ago, they redrew the district maps, and we've ended up with kind of a funky district, which I now represent, which is House District 3. House District 3 is basically Keaupaha and Pane'ewa, and it has some of the lower Waikea. It actually carved up Kawili Street and then comes back down Pointico. So it has like the Waikea High School, Intermediate, Elementary, and then it cuts across Kilauea, and then it has everything through KL and between the 2 highways through into Fern Acres and Ainazoa, so including Hawaiian Acres and Orchid Land. I currently chair the Committee on Transportation, but everything is really turning over the next week and a half. So we will have everyone, pretty much almost everyone has brand new titles in about a week and a half. I will be serving as the Majority Caucus Leader, which is somewhat nebulous thing, but basically means I'm there to hopefully keep people together. It can be really tough up there. A lot of people don't really get along, and most of my role up there is going to be trying to get people to get along and kind of move forward in a positive direction. And I'm very excited to welcome Sue this year, who has known me since I was a little boy, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Representative Todd. Aloha. Yes, thank you so much for coming out. When I woke up this morning, it was raining, and I said, this gang, they always show up. So thank you so much for showing up. I've spent the last 8 years on the Hawaii County Council and have been recently elected to House District 2. And so Chris and I are neighbors. And my other neighbor, House District 1, currently have Matthias Kush. A little bit about myself and my own lived experience. I have a son with special needs. So to the parents this morning, Christy and Leilani, I've met that challenge of what do we do, right? And asking ourselves, what kind of help do we need for our community? And it's been a challenge personally for me. My son is now 19 years old. And when we started in school, they had a PEX program where you had to literally have cut out pictures on Velcro strips for them to string pictures together to communicate. My son he's been diagnosed in the autism spectrum. And we did that just so we could open doors to resources and opportunities for him. He's been diagnosed with 1p3 deletion syndrome, which basically is a chromosomal anomaly where the petite arm on that chromosome is fractured. I learned a lot about biology and what it takes to put all of us together. And what I learned is that if you look at the body and the DNA of a body that puts everybody together, that fracture in my son, and you think about DNA as a book of encyclopedias, he's not missing a book. He's not missing a chapter. He's not missing a page. He is literally missing just one or two words in this entire set of an encyclopedia where speech resides. And it just goes to show how complex all of us are. And so the advocacy that you see today, everywhere in this room today, thank you so much, because we are a huge encyclopedia and all of us make up all the words to the chapters, to the book, to this entire set of encyclopedias. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, legislators. Our first question is from our Self-Advocate Advisory Council and will be asked by Julia Alta.
Good morning. I've had the honor of being asked by our Self-Advocate Advisory Council to convey this question to you. A lot of people are at a Special Olympics event this morning, so some of them wanted to do that instead of coming to ask the question. The first question is about the curb cut. So when we go to our day at the Capitol, which we have every March, and the buses take us over and they drop us off at this island along Mauritania. And the problem that we have, so here's a curb cut on the other side, on the Capitol side, but the island does not have a curb cut. So people have to get lifted off of there, which is not the safest thing to do, right? So the question is, what can be done to try to make sure that we have a curb cut there for the next time that we go?
Yeah, so I can speak to this. I mean, you know, if you asked me like 2 months ago, I'd be like, oh, I gotta go talk to someone within our house leadership, but that's me now, so that helps, you know, which is a weird place to be, because I'm very used to, over the last handful of years, having to explain to folks in the community, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna try my best to kind of talk to those who are making these kinds of decisions. But, you know, I don't see why not, right? So, no, this is, and thanks for bringing it to our attention, because, you know, we get a lot of emails, a lot of calls, but I can't remember this specific request being made. So now that we have this in front of us, you know, we have, I think 2 days after the general election, we have a big caucus, and we have leadership meetings as part of that process. And this is something we can bring up basically immediately. We can kind of figure out jurisdiction. We can talk to Ed Sniffen, who's literally texting with Sue right now. And he's the director of transportation and a friend of Sue's and mine. So we can get this done as quickly as possible. And you know, government can take quite a while, but a project of this nature shouldn't take that long. And I think it's kind of the least you can expect out of your government. And also, there are a lot of eyes on the Capitol because you're going to have a substantial renovation and a bunch of moving parts anyway. So it makes sense that we would tie something like this in pretty quickly.
Thanks, Chris, and he's absolutely right. I was actually texting Director Sniffen, and exactly what Chris said, it could be done pretty cheaply. Would need to remove a portion of the sidewalk and re-pour the ramp. They would only have to check the drainage in the area. So, check.
Thank you, legislators. The next question is from Corey Harden.
I usually see you folks for Sierra Club, but different today. Thank you for showing up, and thank you to the organizers of this very well-planned event. I want to know what you can do to increase residential options for people with developmental disabilities on this island. And I'm going to tell my story, which illustrates how limited the options are. When I started looking for a care home for my daughter, who was 40 years old, it took over a year for the case manager to find an opening. So I went to see it, I walked in, and it reeked of urine. So I walked back out there. Several months later, I reluctantly started considering homes on Oahu, not finding anything here. There was one, I talked to the operator, she had great trouble with English, and she was going so fast I couldn't get an edge in word with, and not that one. I asked the case manager for a list of homes, and she gave me a list. There's like over 500 homes. They were mostly on Oahu. And I said, well, which ones have vacancies? And she said, I don't know, you have to call them all. I took a breath and started calling. I must have called about 200. After a month or so, I actually found a home, but it's on Oahu. So after some agonizing, I decided on that one, though it means taking my daughter away from Hilo, where she's basically lived most of her life. And then she developed some health issues. And we're trying to figure out what's going on. We don't know yet. The care operator will not hold a spot indefinitely for her. So do I send her to Oahu and risk her developing things that the operator cannot handle and they send her back? If there is a home on this island, I would probably send her because I'd be here to help, but on Oahu I can't do it. So what can you folks do to increase options?
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks for being here, and thank you for the question. Over the past 8 years, I think there has been a ton of funding and resources dedicated to housing in general, up at the state and county level. And a lot of times it can feel very difficult, or it doesn't even feel like we're making a dent a lot of times. And I think what can get lost in that, when we're talking about just numbers on a piece of paper, it's, well, we need 20,000 units. What can get lost in that is what specific needs we're trying to meet. Is it specific to those folks who have a form of disability and need a very specific sort of housing? Are we talking about actual houses? Are we talking about condos or apartments? Are we talking about public housing versus subsidized affordable housing? So I think the devil is in the details, and I think we are heading in a positive direction because, it's not official for like another week, but the new Speaker of the House has extensive knowledge at the county and state level on how to solve this housing problem. So I do think that there is a lot of progress on the way. Unfortunately, there really isn't a quick fix. A lot of the issues we're facing around housing are going to take a number of years, and I know you know that. The other kind of overlying problem in our state is that we have a very substantial labor shortage, particularly in the public sector. So, depending on the numbers, we might be short 1,000 teachers, and that doesn't account for about 1,000 nursing staff. We have a massive, social worker shortage. And here in East Hawaii, it's one of the few places where you can actually kind of make a living on a government salary in a lot of these areas. And even then, it's difficult for us to attract and retain people. So I think there's a twofold solution. One is that we need to continue to really pour funding into constructing public housing and into subsidizing affordable housing projects. And that's been happening and will continue to happen, and we need to do a much better job of effectuating that quickly. The second is going to be, and this is something that our House Finance Chair is a big believer in, we need to find a way to take this massive, government infrastructure and find a way to really tailor it to our specific needs, because we do not have the labor supply to meet every single want and desire within our state. So we need to identify where we really, really need people, whether it's social work, whether it's nursing staff, whether it's our teaching force, and we need to prioritize those areas. We need to pay better salaries and provide better working conditions and benefits so that we can attract those folks here and retain them. And I think a lot of times when we're talking about services, but also housing in general, that's often lost, is not only do we need to provide just units in general, but we need to be able to actually build them. We need to actually be able to staff the various facilities and provide the actual support network that is necessary. But unfortunately, neither of those are quick solutions. I do like a lot of the work being done, as an example, through the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. I think there's a new vision for how to take something like the wait list, which has massive, a massive issue, obviously, and try to find ways to find quick solutions. Hey, let's take these units, let's turn them over quickly, let's provide financing mechanisms to get people housed as quickly as possible, instead of looking at very, very long-term solutions. But we're probably going to need a combination of the two of them. And it's something we should discuss heading into this new leadership in the House and a new legislative cycle, is how to prioritize those specific projects and needs in addition as part of our larger housing strategy, so that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Thanks, Chris. And Chris has got it going on when he's talking with his hands. So thank you so much, Chris. And following his lead, as he mentioned, I'll be switching hats from the council to the state, and all of the programming, the labor shortage, will be shifting our focus over there. But what I can share here in Hawaii County is housing is about an ecosystem, right? Not only housing at price points that are attainable, but providing the workforce so that we can have teachers, we can have nurses, we can have doctors. Here in Hawaii County, thanks to Aaron Chung, what we did is shave off all of our multi-million-dollar homes and create a housing fund that generates approximately $10 million. And then in addition to that, we created a housing and homeless fund where we're adding another $10 million. So between the work that Chris and his colleagues have been doing at the state, Hawaii County has partnered that money and those ideas with resources so that we could braid all of that together. In addition to the housing funds that we have available, I leaned into the Department of Housing and Community Development. And housing for this community has not been developed in the last 45 years. And so I've asked them to reprioritize the funding so that we have attainable housing across the board. In addition to the work that Chris has done and our housing chair, Luke Evsen, one of the acts that they passed last year was adaptive reuse, where we would provide incentives to commercial facilities or commercial buildings that we now find vacant because the workforce has shifted and we all can work differently now, whether it's online or through Zoom, and provide pathways where they can rehabilitate commercial spaces and provide housing. So to the point of trying to get housing quicker, there's housing from the ground up, and then there's already structures available that we could readapt through this app, which would then provide housing a lot quicker.
Thank you, legislators. Next question is from SAC, and they have asked me to present this question. So I was the vice chair of the Hawaii County Elections Accessibility Needs Advisory Committee, and I almost had to miss this event as well, but I can't participate in any of my community, events due to the lack of transportation. So the question is, what can be done at the state and county levels to improve transportation options for people with disabilities in Hawaii County?
We have a rhythm. Thank you. I think prior to a couple of years ago, this wasn't something that was super top of mind to me. Prior to the legislature, I was primarily known as a football coach, and I ran a fish market. And then I became transportation chair, and all of a sudden I had to really, meet with a lot of folks and reconsider, maybe how I thought about things. And I think one thing has become very clear the more research I've done, and this isn't specific to, your transportation issues, but in general, and some of this can be applied. I think, here in our country over the past, I think looking at 100 years now, we've really prioritized individual cars. We've built these superhighways everywhere. We actually have federal guidelines that prevent local jurisdictions from using some of that federal money for public transportation, as an example. And I recently had the opportunity to leave the country for the first time in my life. And I saw what's possible and what we do not have here, both in Hawaii and across the country. And our public transportation infrastructure is kind of an abomination. For the amount of wealth our country has and the resources we have available, we're so far behind the curve. We're probably the worst in the Western world at providing accessible public transportation, but also to meet specific transportation needs. When we look at the kind of Pana'ewa stretch and those two major highways, that corridor where all of the traffic in East Hawaii is right now, seemingly, that's pretty much there in Pana'ewa Street. For my entire life, the discussion has been around highway widening. It's been around providing an alternate access route, which is important for emergency access and evacuations. However, expanding a highway is not going to fix any of those issues, and it's not going to address your specific issue either. What we instead need is a massive, massive investment in public transportation and providing more adequate resources for the disabled community as part of that process. But again, we run into a similar issue, which is we have a massive labor shortage. As we've seen with the DOE, which really ended up being that Hilo Puna area that was most impacted across our state. We had an issue with the contracting, that's part of the problem, and obviously they gotta let us know sooner. They gotta give us notification so that parents can plan ahead, if we have a shortage of bus drivers. But on top of that, it's difficult to hire. And it's another area where government needs to reprioritize and focus on areas where we need to meet essential services. And that means providing for those who are less mobile. And it also means providing a more adequate public transportation infrastructure, public transportation resources, paying those workers, providing better resources so that we can actually meet those basic fundamental needs. And I think that will go a long way. But it's going to take some restructuring of government. It's going to mean really redescribing job titles. It's going to mean taking financing that's been previously dedicated towards expanding highways and focusing more of that on public transportation solutions so that people do not feel obligated to go and purchase a vehicle and that we have better resources on the road and available.
Thanks, Chris. And as you can see, he's incredibly dynamic, thinking through situations. In addition to the work that he's done at the state level, at the county level, the legislature gave us the opportunity to take the 0.5% GE tax. Hawaii County has invested that into our mass transit system, and we've completely upgraded all of those buses that were so aged and just broke. They were broke. In addition to the GE tax, Hawaii County instituted additional fuel tax, which we are using for our Complete Streets program that would allow for more bike paths and just multimodal type of travel. In addition to all of those things that Chris mentioned and the funding and resources that we have, the real shift that also has to happen, like Chris said, is everybody wants to get in their car and drive somewhere. I think legislatively and locally, we have to start putting goods and services in key areas like Puna, like Waikoloa, so people don't have to travel so much. And as we talk about these dynamic solutions and addressing the workforce, if we create, again, an ecosystem that's close to home, where travel is shorter, services are shorter, schools are shorter, and then we have walkable paths, we can then become a community that can continue to thrive.
And just to add on to that, I think a lot of that is, the state has a lot of financing available, and a lot of times has not been a great partner to the county in trying to actually dedicate some of those resources for what will become county solutions. A lot of state and federal stuff is very top down, but I'm hopeful that going forward that we will have, and having Stu around is going to be a big help. And we have Drew Kanuha on the Kona side who has that county perspective also. In really trying to repurpose some of that state funding for public transportation solutions, to expanding, and to making it a little bit more tailored to individual needs also, instead of just a catch-all, hey, here's our bus, this is its circuit, let's try and have it a little bit more dynamic, if that makes sense.
Thank you. The next question is from Ebrajine Fune.
And I just want to say thank you for those answers, and we're really looking forward to working closely to address those things, because how unfortunate that here's, just as an example, right, here's amazing Sierra who's going to be on an actual county committee and can't, because she can't get the transportation. So we look forward to working with you on that. Thank you. Regina.
Aloha. Mahalo for being here to not only our esteemed guests and presenters, providers, family members, but also I understand this is being streamed very live, and I have a few other family members out there that are watching. So thank you for allowing me the time to ask the question. I have a 2.5-year-old with special needs, and I've made some connections with Leilani and Mariah, and she's got some support by some of the providers here as well. Easter Seals has been in her life since she was 7 weeks old, and it's going to be a sad moment when she transitions. But I know that they've helped her to become the independent, fierce little girl that she is at the moment. So my question is, what can be done to improve special education services for children with disabilities, and to make it easier for us parents to navigate those systems and services?
Thank you. Obviously Sue has a lot of lived experience, and mine is relatively recent. So I've been subbing recently, a lot at Hilo Union, which is where my daughter goes to school, and a couple other schools. And for a good part of the last couple of weeks, I've been in the FSC classes, which is where you have a lot of the more significant needs. So a lot of children who are nonverbal, or may have pretty substantial physical disabilities, or are just kind of on the cusp, right, of being in a more inclusion class setting. And Hilo Union has a really great thing going on, and even then it feels like we need more adequate support. So in their setting, you may have pretty much one teacher or one aide per student in those classes, which is very helpful. But I know that that's not the norm across the state. And also there can be a big discrepancy in terms of what kind of services are being provided in that setting, even if you have the actual people available to deliver those services. Do you have folks with kind of the precise, adequate training necessary to maximize someone's potential and growth? And that's something I think about a lot. My mother-in-law was at Easter Seals as a speech-language pathologist for 25 years. And then with the DOE and also doing some contracting for Easter Seals for another 10 to 15 after that. And when she retires, and she's still active, within the community, that's such a massive asset to lose. Especially here in a relatively rural community where there's so few folks that have the necessary training and education, but also kind of the will to do that, because it can be very difficult work. So I'm mindful of that, and I hate to kind of harp on the labor shortage issue, but a lot of it comes down to that. We have a big problem across government where we've become like a training ground for other governments to then take our workers away. And you can't blame those families, right? Within transportation, just as an example, we have a big problem where almost every single air traffic controller, once they're on the job for 1 to 2 years and adequately trained, gets peeled off by a West Coast city with a 30 or 40% pay increase. Until we fundamentally change the way we compensate people within government, we will always have a shortage of qualified workers, which means we cannot provide a fully adequate trained workforce to provide for special education programs. There has been some progress a few years back with differential pay, which is something that Governor Ige kind of went around the legislature at the time, to his credit, to implement, where special education teachers, Hawaiian immersion teachers, and teachers within schools that are hard to staff get a pay increase relative to a normal DOE situation. But we can do more than that, because even accounting for that pay increase, it's not enough for the unique challenges and unique training required to maximize a child's potential, to show them that they're loved and valuable within that setting, but also ensure that they're getting the proper and adequate education that's necessary. So I think that's one thing, and the second thing would be infrastructure within the DOE, particularly in East Hawaii, is very poor. Unless you're at kind of Keao, which is a relatively newer campus, almost everything else is built to plantation standards, and it's over 100 years old. Every school I went to growing up is over 100 years old. And the infrastructure is not in place to handle that. A lot of ADA compliance issues in addition to the labor issues. But I think fundamentally it's prioritizing those ADA improvements and renovations, and then really dramatically changing how we compensate folks so we can attract and retain better talent and provide better services.
It's okay, he went Hilo High. I'm in White Castle. My school was a little bit newer. It was new at the time, that's true. Again, Chris nailed it on the head on the levers that we have to push on. I did Easter Seals, DOE, and now Biata Services. For me and the lived experiences, we miss all of the help and support that our son has had. He's actually more popular than me because we go KTA and everybody says, "Hey, Luke," and I'm like, "Who's that?" I don't know. To answer your question, it's advocacy. It's parent advocacy. As I mentioned, when Luke started, iPhones weren't what they are today. And so we had that PEX program. But we used that technology to push back into our speech teachers that this is a way to communicate. And we made our own personal investments to buy apps that would be a communication device. That's how we started in kindergarten. Today he's 19. And so to see Jen use those adaptive technology pieces, I really think it was the parent advocacy. In addition to, like Chris mentioned, we're a community, we grew up together. I knew him when he was a kid running around at soccer. But because we grew up here, the teacher, now the principal, Miss Ochi at Waikowina School, she was my classmate.
That was my 5th grade teacher.
And it's that connections, it's that network. Esther Kanihailua, who is now the area complex supervisor for Waikia Hilo district, she has a daughter with special needs. I see Tracy back there. I think Zayden might be in the audience. Not to it really is those relationships and those networks and that advocacy that has been the biggest change for my son and for this community. And I speak for Chris, for both of us, whatever we can do legislatively to remind other legislators when we're solving big problems to always remember we have a community, that if we build a community for them, everybody fits into their community. What we're doing is we have a community and we have to create adaptive uses to fit into that community. And so as Chris speaks of this dynamic situation that we're in with members of the House being so young, we can be rebels and we can break it a little bit and turn it sideways. Maybe not turn it upside down, but turn it sideways and look a little bit differently to start solving these big problems with a lens from this community.
Thank you for all your questions, and thank you again to Representative Todd and Council Members Leloy. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to share?
Yeah, just feel free to reach out. You can call the office, email. I have wonderful staff. Her name is Julie, and she's been with me all 8 years. And she worked at the Office of Homelessness prior to that, and with a couple other reps, and has a wealth of knowledge. If nothing else, it's really useful to contact us because we can point you in the right direction, or we can kind of amplify your concerns and try to get things addressed. And don't think it's too small of an issue. I get a lot of calls about, hey, the grass is too long at this housing area, and we'll call the guy and he'll cut the grass. It's actually really helpful to hear what's going on because we can't be everywhere all at once. And then the other thing is, just try to be as hopeful as possible. I do think there's a real possibility for some dramatic change. I'm a big spreadsheet guy, and I went through, I Googled all of the reps yesterday to see how old people are. Because I was actually curious, because we're so young, we're too young, honestly, we're so young. I think 40 out of the 51 House members coming in are either Gen X or millennials. And we have a couple of Gen Zers also. The average age is like 46. The average length of experience is 5 years right now. So there's a real opportunity for, I think, substantial change in mindsets and in how we prioritize things and how we prioritize people. And I do think that through some of this generational change, you're seeing a lot of folks who've grown up in a different Hawaii, where they've seen all of their friends and a lot of family members move away. And I think that weighs on us in a real way. My sister's on the mainland. Her husband's family, they all moved away. They're all Native Hawaiian. Huge family. He's the oldest of 12. They're all on the mainland now. Most of my friends are on the West Coast now. So I think there's a real desire to change that. And I'm hopeful we can make some progress.
It's always been an honor to do this work, just because my son's in it. But aside from that, really, we have champions in great spaces. So in addition to reaching out, it's also really helpful for us as legislators to hear the support back, because we hear a lot of grumbling about how we're not doing so great. But it's also really great when you guys show up and say, no, this is a great thing. I don't have anything more to add other than thank you all for being here and have a very happy Halloween and a happy holiday season.
Thank you again, legislators. That concludes our 2024 Legislative Forum. Thank you Thank you to our legislators for talking with us, taking the time and talking with us, and everyone else for coming to join us. Remember to please complete the evaluation forms. Please take time to visit exhibit tables at 10:50. Okay, we'll come back at 10:50, so please visit the exhibitor tables. Let's have a final round of applause for Representative Todd, and Councilmember Hilo.
Please feel free to get some water. There's some coffee. And the bathrooms are around the corner. had some time. I love this networking and talking to each other. We are now going to hear from the presentation is called The Keys to Self-Determination. And we have 3 presenters today. The first one is Edeline Harold Sanchez, is an inclusive education facilitator and peer mentor for the post-secondary support project at the Center on Disability Studies. She currently works as a teaching assistant for a preschool. She graduated from Honolulu Community College with an associate degree in early childhood education and with a bachelor's degree in human development and family studies. The next person is Jane Ip. Jane Ip is an educational and employment specialist for the post-secondary support project at the Center on Disability Studies. She holds a Master of Science in Rehabilitation Counseling from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She supports college students with disabilities in developing academic and employment skills through educational coaching. Jane also serves as a co-facilitator for the Project Summer Employment Program, assisting students with disabilities in gaining job skills through on-campus employment and supporting their transition from college to workplace. And we also have Dana Katsuda, is the educational coach for the post-secondary support project at Center on Disability Studies. Through educational coaching, she assists college with disabilities develop academic and employment skills. She also helps deliver self-determination, self-advocacy training in schools and to various audiences. And here we have Jane and Dana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. My name is Jane, and I'm here with Dana. I am the Education and Employment Specialist with the Post-Secondary Support Project, and I'll have Dana introduce herself. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm Dana, and I'm an educational coach for students with disabilities who are attending college at our community colleges throughout the islands. And we're establishing our programs in the 4-year universities, UH West Oahu and UH Hilo. So we have Post-Secondary Support Project, and we might say PSP throughout the presentation. We're based on Center on Disability Studies at University of Hawaii of Manoa. And like Dana said, we support college students with disabilities across the island. So we'll go to the next slide. And Dana's going to share a little bit more about college. Sure, so the first question is, why do people go to college? What is the value? And I think a lot of times we have this all or nothing view of going to college where you have to take 4+ classes per semester, you have to have a high GPA and graduate with a bachelor's degree for it to have value at all. When the reality is that there's strong research that shows that going to college for just 1 semester can make a major difference in lifetime earning outcomes. For our program, I think that the last 2 points, improving your ability to think and learn, exercising those thinking and growing muscles, and learning about things that you didn't even know existed, having those new experiences to learn about what you value and what role you want to take in the world are 2 really big benefits of going to college. Okay, so what is inclusive post-secondary education? So post-secondary education is also talking about college. So over the last 15 to 20 years, there have been amazing strides in supporting and including students with ID and DD to be successful in college. And so inclusive post-secondary education is talking about college programs that are fully inclusive. They attend classes, they take credits, they receive supports just like any other college student on campus. And a helpful resource for you all is a website called thinkcollege.net. It is a great place to find inclusive college resources. There's a lot of research about the benefits of going to college. And if you are searching for a college program, they have a page to help you navigate the benefits and the different services and supports that they have on those college campuses. So right now there are over 300 programs across the U.S. For inclusive post-secondary education. So our project, we work to create inclusive college campuses. We support a variety of people with different abilities and different support needs to be successful. And we're really inclusive, so that means we're invisible on campus. No one knows we exist. We support college students with disabilities to get the same opportunities and access to all the resources there are on the campuses. And so we want them to succeed and to gain a college education and learn in college just like anyone else. So we actually have 3 funding streams. Our project, we have something called PSP TIPSID, which is a transition program for students with intellectual disabilities. This is a federal grant for students with ID. Our other funding stream is Developmental Disabilities Division, also known as DDD. This is a college support for DDD participants. And then we have DVR, which is Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. We support college students who are also referred by DVR. Okay. And I'll pass it over to Dana, who will talk more about our model components.
Yeah, so as you heard, my role in this program is an educational coach. I work one-on-one with these students with disabilities. And through the post-secondary supports project, we really train our coaches to make sure that they're empowering rather than disabling the students with their support. And this takes the form of several components. Starting off with setting high expectations. So we do this through our Setting the Bar High tool. We help students set specific, usually it's behavior goals, like arriving to class on time, becoming independent with their transportation, and help them create a plan for achieving those goals that will ultimately help them be successful in college and in life beyond. We have an agenda for self-determination, which is what the bulk of our presentation will be about, so you'll hear more about that in a bit. Person-centered planning is almost like an IEP meeting, the difference being that the person, the student, is the one who's leading the meeting, giving whoever's in their PCP group, usually it's parents, support workers, their coach, and even mentors and people that they hope to get support from, to kind of bring their dreams into fruition. Authenticity is really important because the college journey for a lot of our students doesn't look like a straight line of constant progress. It looks more like the stock market, right? Steady upward growth, hopefully. Well, not steady upward growth, lots of ups and downs. Front door burst supports are called front door bursts because they're available to all students on campus. And our aim is to create inclusive college campuses, not an inclusive program which only supports students with disabilities. And finally, our goal for employment. Jane is on the employment team, and mostly our supports through employment look like a summer internship where students get transitional jobs on campus, such as in the campus libraries, the bookstores, and other jobs on campus. Oh, thank you. And up next, so our presentation takes kind of 3 parts. So first, we gave you a little bit of background on our project. Next, I think I really like this part. We'll have a little bit of a testimonial for one of the students that went through our program. And finally, we'll talk about the keys to self-determination. So at this point, we'll play a short video from Edlin Perro Sanchez.
So my name is Edlin Perro Sanchez, and I live on Oahu in the island of Hawaii.
Can you tell us about your transition into college?
Sure. So for me, my transition to college was when I first was my last year of high school, my senior year, that they had a field trip to go to the campus, like visit the college campus tour. And so because I was not able to go to that field trip, I have to go to my transition counselor, and I talked to her about what happened. And then from there, she connected me to the PSP program, who then helped me to go into the college and the process of applying to college, and now my transition into college. Yep.
Nice. And what did you study when you got into college?
So I study like basically like English, math, early child education classes, and like some history classes. Yeah.
How many classes did you start with when you started college?
So I started with just taking one class at a time, and then eventually then 2 classes, and then after then 3, and then eventually 4. Yeah.
How did you know you were ready to take more classes?
I knew like from when I met with my coach, I would kind of bring it up at our meeting, and also like we made like pros and cons, like, okay, if you take more classes, what are some pros and what are some cons about it? And then also being able to like um like plan like different scenarios, like okay, time management, or what think about the different things you need to do. And so that how I was able to plan if I want to take more classes. Yeah.
Nice. Can you share one example of how you advocated for an opportunity in college?
So for me, one example I have how I advocate for opportunity was so one semester when I met with my academic advisor, they told me I have to do a practicum because my major was in early child education. And so when I had to do a practicum, the advisor told me that it's for the whole semester, and you may not be able to work as much, or you may not be able to work at all. So from that information, then I went to talk to my supervisor at work, and I told them that I was not going to be able to work that semester because I was going to have a practicum that I need to do for school. But after the semester during the practicum, um, the the good thing that I had opportunity was they offered me a job working at the preschool, and so that was one opportunity. I knew that I want to work there was because like I had the opportunity to work as a practicum student for a whole semester. As I figured that I will probably enjoy working there like for a long term because I had already worked there as an internship. And also because I was studying it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you studied at Honolulu Community College at doing early childhood education. And after you completed that, where did you go?
After that, I went to the UH Manoa, the university.
And what did you study?
So for me, I study human development and family studies.
Nice. And Edlin, can you share one example of how you advocated for yourself when you had a challenge in college?
So for me, one way I advocate for myself when I have challenges when I had taken really hard math class, and for me, I was like having difficulty with the math class because I had to take it more than one time. So when I had the challenge, I remember like one strategy is I went to see my professor during office hours and told them like I want to be able to pass the class, and then from there I kind of work with them on how I can be successful. And then I also made a plan to maybe schedule in more time to go to the tutoring, and also like work with my coach on making it a PCP goal. And so those were some things that I did to overcome the challenge. Yeah.
And what are you doing now that you've completed your degree?
So for me, currently, I am working like as a full-time preschool teacher. But before I got this, because I got this job the beginning of this year, but when I graduated with my bachelor degree, um, I actually worked as a direct support worker and as a behavior technician in the DOE schools, and as a peer mentor. But after that, I decided I want just a full time. So I work. So that's the job I do now as a full time preschool teacher. And then I was able to also apply for graduate school at Chaminade University. So I'm hoping to get accepted for next spring semester in spring 2025. And so those are some things that I'm doing now.
Wow, that's awesome, Edlin. Thank you for your time, Edlin, and thank you for sharing your college journey with us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so unfortunately, Edlin couldn't make it here today. That's why she was willing to submit a testimony through recording, and she was actually at work during her lunch break. She was able to meet for a quick 30 minutes to share more about her college journey with us. So we really thank Edlin for doing that, and it really shows that college is possible. And I think for a lot of parents of children with disabilities, college might seem impossible, but it is possible, and there's proof. Edlin has done it, and this is from 2012 when she entered Honolulu Community College, and she is still going through her educational journey. So we really appreciate Edlin, and she was a PSC program participant for a very long time, and she received coaching support from us. And she has learned everything about the keys to self-determination, which we'll talk about right now. And Edlin has given us permission to use her story as an example for some of the self-determination skills that we're going to be covering.
Yeah, so a big part of our program is teaching independence, or rather fostering independence. So a lot of times when the students come to us, we can ask them questions like, so why do you want to go to college? And a lot of times, I think the most common answer I get is, I don't know, ask mom. Or I don't know. You know, even if the only decision is like, I want to go to college, and maybe they haven't developed the narrative behind why, that's still great. But the purpose of our program is to kind of teach them not only to choose for themselves, which is, jumping ahead a little bit, to choose for themselves, but to be able to articulate that narrative, that reason for their decision. So a lot of times when I'm talking to my students, I tell them, you know, when you're a baby, it's your mom or dad's or your parents, your guardian's job to kind of observe you really closely and to see like, what does my baby need? Here's some food, here's a clean diaper. But as you become more independent, it becomes your job to observe yourself and to be able to ask for or get what you need. So that's kind of like the foundation. And then we move on to finding more opportunities, like going to college. In Evelyn's case, an opportunity in her journey was asking to do study abroad. And finding supporters and partners, which pairs really well with our PCP process, gathering the team, finding mentors, building community around yourself. And it all starts with this seed of what is a choice. A lot of students don't really see that they have more than one choice. As a former DOE teacher, I know that sometimes in the classroom, it is a little bit about behavior management, right? That's kind of the first step. And we want the students to behave a certain way in the classroom, but I do think sometimes it's a little overemphasized, to the point that where I'm coaching these college students now, and their automatic answer is, yes, coach. Like, yes, let's do it. It's a compliance-based answer, not necessarily based on the understanding that, oh, wait, I can think of different ways to approach this problem. Like, wow, it's a problem, it's an opportunity. So that's kind of where we start moving into that shift in mindset from I'm someone that has things happen to me to I'm someone who gets to choose what I do.
So we're going to dive into a very quick, condensed version of this training. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time in this training. It's normally a 2 to 3 hour long training. So this is a very condensed version, and we're going to try and speed through. But we always start with the word determination. So what does determination mean? Determine means to decide or to choose. And so those are the 2 words we have everyone try to remember when we think about the word determine, is to decide or to choose. And self-determination is deciding or choosing for yourself. So it's when you're prepared to make informed decisions for yourself and for your future. So informed decisions meaning you have spent that time to think through and look at all your options and make those choices that you think are going to align with your future goals. So self-determined people choose their own paths. And every time we have a definition, we like to break it down. So determined means to decide or to choose. And that means when you know what you want, when you decide to work for what you want, when you know how to work for it, when you believe and know you will succeed, when you find partners and advocate. That is self-determination. And in Edlin's example that she shared with us, she started from the beginning, right? She started with choices. She had a choice to go to college or not, and she decided to go for it, and she went through that whole process of knowing what she wanted, deciding to work for it, and actually following through. Yeah. Okay, so an acronym we like to use is called self-area. Each of these actually stand for something. It stands for a skill, and so we're going to dive into these 4 components of self-determination.
Yeah, in our 2-hour presentations, usually we make the audience guess what each letter is, but you guys are safe for now. So we'll start with self-A. Everything starts with awareness. So in self-awareness, you have to know what you like, you have to know what you want, and you have to have a vision of your life in order to make informed choices. And that kind of goes back to that identity piece, right? If you identify yourself as someone who chooses, then you get to create your own story. Yeah, to make your own decisions and choices, you'll need to know your preferences, strengths, challenges, values, and habits. And this is a big piece in coaching because we encourage our students to reflect on what is it that I'm strong at? What do I need help with? Breaking that down, when you know what you care about, when you know what you like and dislike, when you know what you're good at, when you know what you need help with, and when you know how you affect others, that is self-awareness.
So we always say self-awareness is the first letter because it all starts with awareness. It all starts with knowing who you are and what you want. And it's about knowing your story. And so sometimes in coaching, we do like to use these statements to help students start thinking about themselves, right? And start making choices for themselves. And this is what we do in coaching, but these are things that, tools that you can use in your day-to-day life with your kids, the people that you support. Okay, so that's the first A. We're going to move to the next one, which is self-R, and that stands for self-regulation. So self-regulation is the ability to manage your thoughts, behaviors, and actions appropriately and constructively. So we like to say the two words to remember for regulation is to manage or to control. And so in this definition, we use the word manage, so being able to manage your skills to help you achieve your goals. So some examples is just being able to take care of yourself, right? Getting enough sleep, learning to control your emotions or your habits or your response to a situation. It's being able to predict how your actions might affect other people or yourself. And so to break that down more, regulate means to control or to manage. It's when you can manage your habits, your actions, your thinking, and you make sacrifices for your future. So that is self-regulation. And in Edlin's example, she shared a lot about time management, right? She shared about how she knew she could take 4 classes, starting from 1 all the way to 4, is because she knew that she needed to manage her time appropriately. She made sacrifices for her future. So that is an example of using self-regulation skills.
Okay, next is self-E. So self-E is self-efficacy. And this kind of goes along with that story piece, that narrative piece. So the story you tell yourself, I like this line at the very bottom. It's like self-confidence, but with proof or evidence. So in Evelyn's example, if she had believed that person who barred her way from going to that community college field trip, who's basically telling her, college is not for you. If she internalized that story, then she would never have gone on this grand journey of becoming this preschool teacher. Her self-confidence that she was someone that could go to college allowed her to make choices and then ultimately gain proof and evidence that yes, she could do college. She completed her English, I think it was English 100 class. So I think even in that class, it was like, I think she failed it the first time, but then she went back in knowing that she had tools, like going to the writing center or making a study group to help her be more successful the next time. And breaking down that concept of self-efficacy, it's when you believe that you can succeed with something new because you remember similar achievements. When you take action because your achievements give you confidence, that is self-efficacy. I can do this because I've done that.
So now we're going to jump into the last self-A, and that is self-advocacy. So a lot of us have probably heard this before, and it means achieving your goals might need you to have some support. Find support from other people, find opportunities. So self-advocacy is key to a person's ability to find allies and support as he or she works towards identified goals. So to be an advocate, you need to develop a voice to express your ideas, your needs, your goals, and to pursue partnerships, support, assistance, or opportunities. So to break this down, it means when you think about what you want or you need, when you identify what it will take to be successful, when you decide what you need and choose to act, and when you speak up for yourself, and when you use the support you ask for. So that is self-advocacy. And we like to think of it as not always just asking for help, right? We always think about advocacy as just asking, finding people to help you. And while, that is a great skill to have, self-advocacy is also just being in control of your own resources, knowing what you need, and finding those resources on your own. And so that is self-advocacy, and Edlyn shared a lot about this in her testimony, how she advocated for an opportunity, how she advocated for herself in her math class that she had to take several times, and she was able to use that support. So she advocated for tutoring, for example, and she was able to use it. One thing she did not share, and this is actually a big part of her journey, is that at the end, she actually advocated for the opportunity to study abroad, and she went to study in London for, was it 1 semester? Yes. During COVID. And so that was, she mentioned a lot of challenges, but she was able to get it in her PCP meeting and spoke with her family about it. And so through the PCP meeting, people were able to support her in achieving that goal. And so that was a really quick summary of the 4 components to self-determination. And usually in training, we have an extended training that we use to help you practice applying those skills, we call it the self-area lens. So in your support life and your practice, you can use these lens to view your practice or your progress. And we actually have self-determination training for students with disabilities too. And we actually have an annual camp that we have for students in college, and they get to learn about the self-determination skills and components. Okay, and thank you so much for attending our presentation today. If you have any more questions, you feel free to contact our number. My manager's name is Eric Folk. You might have heard from him before. We're going to just spend some time real quick to just share some resources we have. We do have a pamphlet of our project, just an overview of what our project is, information, eligibility criteria, if you're interested. We mentioned about the extended self-determination training, and we actually provide the training at no cost. We can come to you in person, or we can provide the training virtually. It's usually 2 to 3 hours. And then we also have a infographic of helping your child build self-determination skills. So it's all the skills we talked about. There's choice making on there, self-awareness, self-regulation, efficacy, advocacy. And this is just a guide to help you practice, start using these terms and vocabulary in your day-to-day life. And then lastly, my favorite, we have these little self-determination keys. And this is a great tool to have. You can kind of keep it in your pocket or wherever you go. But it has a breakdown of each of those skills that we covered today. And you can actually use this with your child. We call these KKSD keys because there's a definition and an example of what it means, and you can start using this in your day-to-day practice. Yeah. So feel free to come up and grab some resources if you need. We'll leave them at the top. If we run out, please leave your contact information, and we're happy to mail it to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dana and Jane. Right now, we will have lunch. We're gonna do a working lunch, okay? We'll take 15 minutes. What we'll do is we'll have our audience go pick up the lunch first, and then after our audience, we'll have our vendors pick up their lunch. So we are thankful. Let me just thank also for Aloha Monday. They have provided our lunch, Gianna. And we also would like to thank Kay Vikes, media team from Hilo High. They're my alumni, so it's great that you could do this live on their page and also on LDH Facebook page. So we will reconvene at 15 minutes. Thank you. Please come up.
Hi, my name is Rosie Rowe. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership in Disabilities and Achievement of Hawai'i. Today we are hosting this conference at Imiloa Astronomy Center, and we are what's called a Parent Training and Information Center for the state of Hawaii and all of the Pacific jurisdictions. So we provide parent training, information, resources for families of children at risk or with disabilities. So, we've been inviting a lot of people down here to Imiloa and really appreciate the audience that we have here today and all that we have to offer. We come together as a community to bring a lot of resources for families so that they too can collect those resources, help them in their journey with their children to make sure that they're receiving what they need from either their school, their public school, if they're looking at a career, or if they're even going to college. So thank you for this information, for sharing it, and for your help and support. Thank you.
Hi, aloha. My name is Christy. I am here today on behalf of the Tourette Association of America. I am the NorCal Hawaii chapter chairperson, and we are here to spread awareness and advocate for our Tourette syndrome community. Tourette syndrome is a neurological disorder that involves involuntary motor and vocal tics. So if you have any questions or you want to come and stop by, please do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chad Domingo from the Community Children Council. We are part of the Department of Education. We have 17 CCCs around the state, and we offer, we make sure that the IEPs are being met within the school and the parents, and we do monthly meetings. We are here to share information to the community, parents, as well as professionals. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Dwayne Nakanishi. I'm the IDS manager for Goodwill Hawaii and Hilo. We're here today to represent Goodwill Hawaii and our programs that we have. We have 4 different programs. We have the Community Learning Service individual and group. We also have the Adult Day Health and our PAB services. Some of the things that we do at our program is we have a lot of different groups. We have arts and crafts. We have the Aina Keepers, where we go out and help clean up the land. We also have a photography club, as well as an Ancestry DNA club.
Hi, I'm Jen Brzee, and I work with ATRC, which is the Assistive Technology Resource Centers of Hawaii. I'm here today to share information about our services and about different kinds of assistive technology for consumers to use and borrow.
Aloha, my name is Denise Lindsay. I'm the Executive Assistant for Full Life. Full Life is an island-wide agency for developmental disability. We're here today to let people know who we are and what we do. We do one-on-one services for those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We also have a day program on the Kona side, which is a learning center at Ali'i Gardens Marketplace. We have lots of programs and activities, music, arts, crafts. We do surfing, we do canoe paddling, we do excursions, we have movie days. It's just a fun place to be for those that have transitioned out of school or need a place to go. And we also have CLSI services, we have PAB services. It's a great place to go. So if you want to know more about Full Life, please look us up on the web, fulllifehawaii.org. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Mike, and this is my wife, Melissa Sprouse. We help run a charity in Curtistown, Hawaii called Eden Plan. We're here at the Leadership in Disabilities and Achievement of Hawai'i conference. And the reason is Eden Plan is designed on this island to help keiki that have aged out of the foster system, ages 18 to 21, find a home. We help them by bringing them onto our 38-acre property. We help them build a tiny cabin of their very own to live in, give them food to eat out of our greenhouses. We live off-grid, we're fully solar, we have water catchment. Teach them life skills so that they can choose to help stay and further our mission or go out into the world on their own and have the skills in which to do so.
We're the Hawaii chapter of the Association for People Supporting Employment First. We are an advocacy, systems change, technical assistance agency that helps promote employment services for people with disabilities based on the foundations of the Employment First movement, which states that employment first is the first step towards a meaningful independent career and that all people should be able to work if they choose so. We also push for inclusion, better practices for supported employment, job coaching, and more availability of different positions for people with various disabilities. And the Employment First movement is for all people with disabilities, regardless of severity or condition.
Hi, aloha. I'm Christy Arias here today on behalf of HCAN, Hawaii Children's Action Network. We are here today to have the community help us spread awareness and for family leave, paid family leave, and also to spread more awareness. So thank you.
Aloha, good morning. I'm Brian Hauser. I'm with the Statewide Independent Living Council. We work on independent living services throughout the state. There are 2 independent living centers, Access to Independence in Honolulu, and Aloha Independent Living Hawaii on the neighbor islands. And we have surveys over here and little trinkets for people, and I'm excited to be here on Hilo.
Aloha, I'm Mariah Nichols, and I'm here today to represent the Comprehensive Service Center and the Hawaii Pacific Deaf-Blind Project that are part of the Center for Disability Studies at UH Manoa. And we want to connect with families on the Big Island and help support parents and families who have individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, late deafened, or deaf-blind.
All right, ready? Okay. Hi, my name is Allie, and I am a parent peer support provider for HFAA, which stands for Hawaii Families as Allies. It is a nonprofit organization created by parents, for parents, and it really is providing support for parents who have children with challenges such as emotional, behavioral, physical, in the school, or in the court system, juvenile justice system, family court. Anything that that parents are trying to navigate the system and they're feeling alone and they're feeling frustrated or don't know how to do it or don't feel like they can reach out. I come in and provide that support. I'm in your corner. You're not alone. I've been there. I have a daughter with challenges, and I've had to navigate the system myself. And so really what is so special about HFAA is that it's lived experience. We work with families because we have this lived experience that we can really kind of honor where they're at and kind of work together. And I sort of empower these parents, these families to really, find their own voice. They have the answers, but sometimes they need a little bit of guidance, and that's where I come in. So it's really I'm very, very lucky, very happy to be working in this organization.
Okay, I am Alan Matsunaga with the Community Case Management Corps, and the CCMC is a subcontractor to the Hawaii Dental Service, which is a third-party administrator for the Medicaid's dental program. And the dental program is separate and apart from the physical health medical program that's provided through the Quest Integration Managed Care organizations such as HMSA, Kaiser, Ohana, United Healthcare, and UHC. So the dental program benefits are provided on a fee-for-service environment. And our purpose is to provide help to Medicaid families and individuals access dental services. And dental services for those under 21 are generally comprehensive services with some limitations and exceptions. For adults, this benefits are similar, again, with some exceptions and limitations. The easiest thing for members to do, if they don't have already a dental home, is to simply call us at 808-792-1070 or toll free 888-792-1070. And our staff can explain the benefits to the callers and help direct them to the nearest appropriate Medicaid provider in their community. So our role again is to help families access dental services. So give us a call and we'll help you get to your first appointment so that you can begin services under the Medicaid dental program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Keisha, and this is Kiani, and we're telehealth program coordinators with the Pacific Basin Telehealth Resource Center. We're based on Oahu at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, but we serve all of the state of Hawaii and its islands, including the U.S. territories and the Kofa Nations. Some of the services that we offer are technical assistance to help improve access to telehealth throughout the Pacific region. We also are involved in education and awareness and policy making as well. One of our projects that we have going on right now is a survey to explore telehealth for people with disabilities. We want to know about access and some of the barriers that are being experienced so we know how to advocate for better resources and improve that for the community. So we're looking for patients, caregivers, and all health providers to please take our survey so we understand what's going on in your respective locations, all the different islands and areas. Every island has its own unique barriers, and we want to know what's going on so that we can make improvements.
And another program that we have going on right now throughout the state is the Library Telehealth Access Points project. And there's two aspects to it where you can go into the library. There's going to be a telehealth navigator present. They can help assist if you come in and you want to do a telehealth appointment. And the second aspect is the tech kit checkout. So you can actually check out a tech kit that comes with a Chromebook, hotspot, and a mouse. Has all the necessities that you need to take home, do your telehealth appointment at home, and come back to the library.
I hope everyone's having a good lunch. Thank you to Aloha Mondays, and it's right on Kilauea Avenue, right by 7-Eleven. It's a little small shop, so if you're wondering where they are. Again, thank you again for K-Vibes Media. You will be able to also watch this again on our Facebook page and also on their website, on their YouTube channel. Okay? And we are gonna, you guys can still keep eating, and we're gonna have Julia. And it's been wonderful to work with Julia. We have partnered with Developmental Disabilities Council, and we were the organizers for Kona as well. And so it has really been a pleasure to work with her, and we look forward to future. And just a reminder, please fill out evaluation forms. Our data is very important. We are federally funded, and so we appreciate you. Please fill those forms out. Before you leave, give those forms to our registration table and you will receive one of these shirts. Okay? So with further ado, I will just pass it on to Julia.
Thank you, Leila. Hey, Jeff, if you see my reading glasses somewhere, I wouldn't mind having them. I can make it out, but... oh. See. All right, let's see. So today I'm going to talk about alternatives to guardianship, and I'm going to be referring back and forth a little bit here, but it's a good thing because it dovetails on what they just talked about. Because they were talking about choice, right, and self-determination. And this is kind of the next step for some of those things. So we wanted to follow that up with this presentation. And we want to talk about supported decision-making as a less restrictive alternative to guardianship. So a lot of times folks go directly to guardianship, which can be a little, sometimes not necessary, right? Somebody could maybe make decisions, and they might need a little support doing that, and that's okay. And we developed this for various audiences, and if you are interested in learning more, because this will just be kind of an overview, if you're interested in learning more, I've got cards, and we would be more than happy to do a presentation for your organization. Next slide, please. Or do I do that? Okay. Oh, look at that. So we've got the training goals. Go over that real quick. How much time do I have, Leilani? 15 minutes? And who's got the agenda? I got to be done in 15 minutes, I think. So when we complete this training, you'll have an idea, right? What supported decision-making is, what the benefits are, and where we stand in Hawaii with the supported decision-making process. So, let me make sure, yeah, that you're seeing the same thing I am. Good. So we know, right, that some people might need more support making a decision. It might happen as people age, it might happen due to a disability, or maybe people, somebody's dealing with a mental health challenge, or maybe it's just a hard time in life. But really it's about how we all make decisions anyway. And just sort of a more formalized process for that. Like I know that for me, if I'm faced with a healthcare issue, I will talk to my husband, I will talk to my brother who is a nurse, sometimes I talk to my ex-husband, he's a doctor, and just get ideas, right, and get people's input, and then I make the decision. And it's pretty much just the same thing. Oh, I went backwards. There we go. So supported decision-making can be an alternative to guardianship, or it can be used in conjunction with guardianship. It's a process for making decisions and allows people to maintain their civil rights. Now in some states, it's not the case here, but in some states, for example, if someone is under guardianship, they even lose the right to vote and all of those things. So it really does limit somebody's abilities to live their own life and have their own self-determination. So it focuses, like it says here, on self-determination, personal choice, and autonomy. Just gonna hold this. I'm gonna see if I can make this work. So I don't have to do all of that. So like I said before, it can be used instead of guardianship or also in conjunction with guardianship. Somehow I clicked through 3 slides all at once, sorry about that. Supported decision making can be as informal or as formal as someone would like for it to be. The degree of formality is determined based on, thank you, thanks Dan, based on the needs and desires of the person who needs support, as well as the comfort of the person that they've chosen to support them. But this one shows there have been studies, it's been done long enough that people are getting the idea and being able to do some studies to show that people really do report that they're happier in their life if they get to make their own decisions. Go backwards again, sorry about that. Dang it. There we go. So this is a graphic representation of how the process works. It's a situation where somebody sort of, they are faced with a decision, and it can be anything. It can be, maybe someone was asked out on a date for the same night by 2 different people, and they're trying to figure out, who do I want to go out with, right? Or whether to get involved in a relationship at all. It can be healthcare decisions, it can be big, they can be small, and people can use this. So the first thing is explore the decision. The next part is involve the right people, right? Because, like, for example, my brother's a nurse, I'm going to want to talk to about healthcare decisions, but I'm not going to want to talk to my brother about any kind of dating decisions. That's not his so those kind of things. You think about the options and the consequences, talk it over with somebody who is providing the support. And then, like it says here, you make the decision real, right? So you take action. You tell, for the Friday night date, you tell one person no, tell the other one yes, and then you reflect on what happened, right? So afterwards, you might revisit that decision and say, that was the best date ever. Or you might say, you know what? That person was a total dud. I'm not going out with them anymore. And then you use that to inform decisions in the future. Now, for formalizing this process, and you can imagine there are situations, right, where someone might want something a little more formal than just, hey, this person's helping me out. Whether it's with a doctor, hospital, banking, a variety of different situations. And so there are forms out there for being able to do this, and they show a couple of the options. And basically you can go through and you can just look at the different decisions that you might have to make and decide if you're going to want support on those issues. So like, for example, the person can say, do I have trouble telling someone what I want or don't want? Sometimes that's hard for someone. But they then can choose. I can do this alone. I can do this with support. Or I need someone else to do this for me. Right? So it goes through all the different areas of life and much bigger form than what you can see here. And so I just wanted to mention there's currently not a formal statutory process in Hawaii. There are in some other states. And DD Council is trying to work on that with some of the legislators to get sponsorship for a bill or something to codify this so that people can, that doesn't mean that someone can't take it to a doctor or a bank or something, but if it's codified into law, then the doctor or the bank can feel comfortable relying on that, right? So we're working on that. But this is an example of a supported decision-making agreement where you would go through and you would put in the name of the person who wants support. And it says in really bold letters, right? Supporter appointed under this agreement does not make decisions for me. Because I know that several folks I've talked to have talked about, like for example, the doctor talking to your parents and say, you know, asking the questions when you yourself can answer the question all on your own. Right, Sierra? When we were talking about that, like, you know, so a doctor asking your mom, how many days has her head been hurting? Right. right. So yeah. And then again, this overlaps with the self-determination, right? If someone needs support making a decision, that's perfectly fine, but they get to make the decision ultimately. Here's a little bit about some of the research that I had mentioned earlier also. People with disabilities who exercise greater self-determination have a better, they report, right, having a better quality of life, being more independent, and being more integrated in the community. And if anybody wants more stats and references, happy to provide those. So they talk about, and then those studies, they take a look, right, at the people with greater self-determination are healthier, they're more independent, they're more well-adjusted, they're more likely to work, and they're also, this part's important, better able to recognize and resist abuse. Because that is sometimes one of the pieces of feedback that we get is that someone will say, you know, someone who cares, right, with a really good heart, and they're like, oh, but I want to be their guardian because I want to protect them. And that's good. But sometimes it can be a problem if somebody, you know, has never learned how to recognize and address any issues of abuse on their own, for themselves. So the flip side of that is that, you know, people without self-determination, whether it's supported decision-making or otherwise, often report feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, low self-esteem, and inadequacy. So it's not to say that guardianship is never the answer, right? Sometimes someone does need that. That doesn't prevent people from supporting someone with making their own decisions and having as much self-determination as possible. When you use supported decision-making and you don't go with guardianship, sometimes somebody might need a little additional legal support, right? So there are things like a power of attorney that someone can get. And that's a legal document that gives someone else the right to make healthcare decisions on behalf of someone. It doesn't supplant the person being able to make their own decisions. But if that person is unable to for whatever reason, then their power of attorney can. There are releases of information where people can talk. Like doctors can talk to people. I know my son had a mental health crisis at one point and signed a release of information. He was 27 at the time. And that then gave me the ability to talk to the doctors and to convey at least what I thought Zane would have wanted, right, in that situation. But at least when I knew what was happening, I could I could understand, and then I could also talk to Zane about it. It was tough. It was during COVID. I couldn't go in to talk to him. It was all over the phone. But we managed, and that release of information was invaluable. There's also living wills, advanced directives, advanced instruction for mental health treatment, and legal and healthcare support. There's also additional financial supports, right? Because that, I think, is one of the things, too, that we worry about with folks who maybe are vulnerable adults. We don't want them to be taken advantage of financially. So there are ways to help with some of those things. Daintree talked earlier about ABLE accounts. People can have joint bank accounts with someone. There are tax advantage savings accounts for disability expenses. People can have a rep payee without having to have a guardian for Social Security benefits. And again, powers of attorney. So the ultimate goal, right, is that people with disabilities will have the same opportunities for success and security as their non-disabled peers. If we change the culture, we change the world. And this is a quote from one of the studies of supported decision-making. So, and then I don't know if Che is here. Hey, Che. No. So this is about for our future in Hawaii and how we're going to begin implementation of supported decision-making on a formal level. The reason I was asking Che is because I know they had a meeting, I believe just yesterday, with one of the legislators who it sounds like may agree to support a bill to make supported decision-making a formal process in Hawaii. So there's the legal statutory route, right? That's what that is. Then there's also the community-based route, which is why I want to talk to all of you. Because we can start using this, right? And people can use this now and a lot of people do. Right, Vince? Right, Jalen? Right? Like if you are working with somebody and you respect them as a person and you support them, you work with them to make their own decisions about things and decide what they want and what they like. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Let's see. Oh, and look at that. Am I going too long? Hey, Che, do you want to tell anybody about formalizing supported decision-making and if we've made any progress on that, or is there not? Because I got to that slide, make it more formal, and I said, I thought you had a meeting with somebody yesterday, but I don't know if you're ready to talk about that or not. All right, so this is Che Silver, my colleague from Oahu, and he's our legislative liaison, and so I'll let him talk about that just a minute, and then that'll wrap us up. You go ahead and wrap us up.
Okay, hi everybody, my name is Che Silver. I'm with Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities. I'm the Community and Legislative Liaison. So relevant to everything that was kind of just discussed is that we talked about basically we need, thank you. Sorry, I talked very fast. So the relevant information for supported decision making is that this year we're trying to get it codified in our state law. So everything you guys kind of heard Julia talk about is more powerful when it's legally recognized, because things like the medical issues and the financial issues, both those things can now be, the person that's helping you make decisions can have access to that information. Without it being in your law and without it being legally recognized, a lot of medical institutions will not let you see the individual if you're hospitalized, will not give you any medical information. Same with the finances, banks will not work with you because you're not the individual named on the account. but when it's codified in law, you would be able to do those things, which just makes supported decision-making a more strong option for people. And the goal is for this year, in this legislative session, that we will get it codified in law. It's currently not, and so hopefully that we will get that done this year. And that would be the update for how to, and then also get more people to use it, obviously, is a good standpoint, but I'm sure Julia touched on that. And that's all we have, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you. Oh, and go get great stickers.
Thanks, everyone. So we have next is Leilani to introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia and Shay. Reminder again, please pull out your evaluations, start filling it out. As you're doing that, I will present our next speaker, and thank you for hanging in there. And I hope that you're gaining a lot of resource and information. Our presentation title is How to Talk So That Schools Will Listen. And Rosie Rowe began her career as an educational assistant back in 1979 and was determined to build her career in special education as a teacher, manager, and now administrator of the leading nonprofit in parent training and advocacy in the state of Hawaii. She has been with LDAH since 1996. Last Thursday, a couple of days ago, she made 21 years with LDH, and I'd like to commend her for that. And I'll give it to Rosie. Okay.
Now we're sharing game. Oh my gosh. Hi everyone, welcome to this conference. You know, it took us a while to really get our act together to try to come back after COVID. So we typically had it here at the Imiloa. So, you know, after COVID happened, things just changed. And families weren't coming out and people were not getting the information. We had to pivot and go into the virtual online stuff. So it was really rough. And now coming back in person, face to face with all of you has been kind of a trick because we've met new people. There's new venues, and there's new people in charge of these venues, and there's new partnerships, and as you can see, we decided to partner with Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities because we all are doing the same thing, and why not, right? We really do want to make sure that we can collaborate and partner with all of the vendors that are here, people who impact families. We would not be able to do this without every vendor that's here, executive director and providers, you folks as constituents, because it just doesn't happen. So I'm really thankful that we were able to bring things back and really, you know, get back into the swing of things. Today, my conversation with families, and I will to a point, I guess, oh, look, my advancer is over here. Use the PowerPoint, but I really just want to make sure families understand. There is two ways of communicating. So if you have been navigating the Department of Education, the special education system, and you're kind of lost or you don't know how to speak to your administrator or however it is, it really is a relationship with your school. And I can tell every parent that comes to our office, we served over, I would say, almost 8,300 families last year. And a lot of my conversations with families is about, how did you ask? What was the conversation like? What did you look at? Were you looking at your documents? Did you use those documents? When any family member is going to an IEP meeting, and when we're talking about special education, you're going to get a whole bunch of documents.
But we want you, as family members, to be involved. Not just at the time of a meeting, but throughout the whole school year. So it is going to depend upon how you're communicating and how you're developing those relationships. So today we really just wanted to talk about what kind of communication are you talking about, and what are you doing, and how are you saying it? We hear all kinds of stories, and the stories that come through our office are not happy stories. They're not. Everybody is upset about something. Something didn't happen right. It was not right, and I don't understand why I don't get these services. So we're going to try to kind of go through this. We may not get through the whole PowerPoint, but you are also getting a handout that really is just kind of a tip and tool for you on how to communicate effectively by email. Because guess what you all do? You use your email to ask questions. Sometimes we tell you, hey, how about you just get a call? Do a call. Talk to your teacher. Maybe if you have a relationship with them or you email them, say, can I call you at such and such time? So that you have that conversation with the teacher. Special educators in Hawaii are hard to come by now. And I think you all know that the Department of Education is trying to fill classrooms, trying to get teachers, trying to get administrators, trying to get people to be in those spaces that you folks need. And they may not have people in those places. So how can you contribute to the solution? When you get those documents from the Department of Education, you can call us and ask us how to walk you through it. But you can also talk to the teacher too, and they can walk you through it. But maybe you're feeling like, I always feel like they don't have time. They're busy people. Okay, they are. But they're the ones who either created it, they designed it around your student, they are the ones who were working with your children throughout the day. So our conversation with you when you come to be with us, or meet with us, or call us, or email us, or sometimes we have you come in person, and we sit down and we go over the most current evaluations and the most current IEP that you will have. All we're doing is showing you what it looks like and how you can contribute to the process. Some of us don't know what the process is, but we can help you walk through that process. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about like, what is communication? Why do we communicate? What is it for? Well, it's for you, so that you can establish that relationship with your school, whether it comes from the principal all the way down to teachers. Maybe it's the SSC. Do you all know what an SSC, what that stands for? Student Services Coordinator. Do you know what their role and responsibility is in the IEP process? What? I didn't hear you, man. Everybody has their own definition about what an SSC does. My understanding, yes, Herman, do you know what an SSC is? Okay. Does anybody know what an SSC does? So I don't belong with the Department of Education, but this is what I know. I know the SSC is the person who is going to help the principal get those resources, make sure that they're available, understand IDEA. Do you know what IDEA is? Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That is the nation's special education law. Here in Hawaii, it's Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 60. If you don't have those things or you don't know where to find them, you can go on our website and you can download it. Or you can go on the Department of Education website and they have it too. So no matter where you navigate, whether it's on a Parent Training and Information Center site, so some of you may not know, what is that she's saying now? It's another acronym. We love our acronyms, okay? So PTI is Parent Training and Information Center. So under the Special Education Law, which is IDEA, under Part D, we are required to be in every state in the nation. So if you move from Hilo, and you go to Virginia, go find the PTI there, because they will help you navigate through the administrative rules for Virginia. Every state is going to have it. That is how they implement IDEA in their state. So when you go there and you're taking your student with you because maybe he's going to be in 7th grade and you don't know, what's the timeline for eligibility in the state of Virginia? What is the amount of time it takes for the IEP to be developed? Every state has the procedure. So what we do here in Hawaii is not going to be the same in Virginia. So that's where that communication comes into play. Be complete and concise. Know what you're talking about, which means every time you get one of those documents from your IEP team, make sure you know what it is. And if you don't, ask. When you call us, I'm asking you, do you have your most current IEP? I think I do. I get that. I think I do. I need to see that. Can you bring that to our office? Okay, let's make an appointment. Okay, they come. What do they bring? Progress reports. Oh, that's not your IEP. It's not? That's what the teacher said. Not really. So all those forms, there are tons of them, and I'll be the first one to say, oh my gosh, there's so many forms. There's a place and a purpose for every form you get in the department. And it's governed by Administrative Rules, Chapter 60. So that's why you need to know Administrative Rules in Virginia, Administrative Rules in Colorado, or Administrative Rules in California. You have to know. That way you know how long does it take to write that IEP in Virginia? How many days does it take for it to, be implemented? All of that stuff matters. Things like when you go to your IEP team, are you then showing respect? I pretty much know that when you come to see us, you are so upset, respect is out the door. Your emotions are so high that you don't know how to go back to the meeting and be a contributing member of that team. So we're going to teach you the tools that it takes for you to help that process, meaning the documents you bring to us, we teach you how to work through those documents. We teach a highlighting tool, really easy. It's like a traffic light. Red, yellow, green. Red, yellow, green. People know in the department on Oahu, if you come with your documents and it's red, yellow, green, they know that they've been in our office. But we do that because that's how you can contribute. If you don't know the strengths of your child in writing, then that's what we're teaching you. We want you to highlight all the strengths in green. We want you to highlight all the needs in red. And we want you to ask questions and make comments in yellow. And that's all we're doing. Then we ask you to take that document and go sit with your team and ask them about the strengths. Do we have that in that IEP? That's how you can contribute to this process. So sometimes, there's some verbal communication, non-verbal communication. Give me an example of what we might be talking about for non-verbal communication. You guys are so quiet. Non-verbals. I hear that all the time. Like what? When you walk into the room and you see 20 people and it's you, what is the non-verbal? I just saw one person go. Exactly. But we want you to walk in and go, I'm ready. And how are you ready? You're ready with your tools. You have your IEP, your most current evaluation, and the binder that we help you organize yourself. So when you walk in with those kinds of things and you're prepared, and yes, families, you have to do this. You cannot not do it. You may have discovered that your child at kindergarten was identified as having a special, needing special education or an IEP. And guess what? You might be doing that until he's 18. But this is what it's about, and you've got to stay in. You can't just one foot in, one foot out. You have to stay in. And the reason why that is because your child needs you to speak and need to make sure the teachers know, no matter if they are in a school here in Hilo or if they move to Oahu and they go to one on the Leeward Coast or if they go to Alabama. Every teacher needs to hear what you have to say. They may not know it at the time, but they do. It's the delivery. So maybe this is what we're talking about today, is how are you delivering the message? What is it that you're saying that everyone goes, oh no, here comes the mom from you know what. We hear it all the time. She's the crazy mom. No, not really. She's pretty exhausted. That's what it is. She has been running a household and she's exhausted. And she doesn't know what you're telling her. So now it's time for you to get down to a business meeting, pretend you're in a business meeting, put on your finest clothes, get your folder, get your highlighting done, walk into the meeting and be present. Before, I'd say maybe, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, we used to tell people about, if you know your team and they like food, bring some cookies or something that breaks the ice, something that makes them feel like, oh, she's bringing cookies. And it used to work before, but now people are so busy that it's just overlooked as if it's a something. So you gotta do whatever your team is about you and about your student and about the school that they come from. So these are it's just about, I don't like to say data, but we're driven by data as a PTI. So with this here really just talks about the amount of percentage of conversation and communication that we have to have in order for people to hear. So do you see that 55%? What do you suppose that means? 55% of the type of communication that works or doesn't work? So a lot of us are using the delivery of communication in a way that people are not listening. They're not paying attention. It's that, oh no, here she comes. This is that mom. This is that mom. And y'all know, if you're a teacher in DOE, at some point in time you've had that conversation with each other. No. And sometimes we just don't know how to reach each other. And so we're on our end trying to get families to really look at how are you delivering the message by using what document and how have you prepared yourself to do that. Are there any examples in the house that maybe you have in mind? Any examples from an IEP meeting that maybe went really well? I like to hear most examples that went really well, because we don't hear those often. Anybody? You do.
So I actually work for the Department of Education, and in special education, I'm a colleague over there for day. So I'm in Hilo, and I tend to sit in IEP meetings at least 4 times a week. And Rosie's absolutely correct. A lot of it revolves around communication. And often one-sided communication. But I'll talk about an experience I have with my child, because I sit as a mom. And throughout his entire educational career, there have been amazingly wonderful meetings and meetings that weren't so wonderful. And a lot of it I had to realize, the meetings that weren't so wonderful were how I came across. And it's very difficult because it's your child, it is your baby, and it is your job to advocate for your child. And there was a big turning point in understanding how I was communicating and what was coming across, and the tools I had to learn to make sure that I had the information I needed to know, I requested the information I didn't have, what was reasonable and what was unreasonable, but ask why, right? And knowing how to ask why, which is not easy, even though I'm in the field, because at the end of the day, I'm there as a parent, and it's a very different hat to walk through. And I did actually contact, even though I was in the field, the dog very, very early on in my career. And one of the things that they told me was very similar along these same lines. They were like, but you know all of this information. You actually don't need us. We don't need to help you because you know this information. And the best advice that they gave me was you have to manage your emotions and regulate those emotions and see through the advocacy for your child. And that was a hard learning very early on. And I can tell you, it's still, I will have a meeting every year outside of the annual because I am a fierce advocate. And it's something that everybody knows is going to come. And they all prepare for a lot. But they're always amazing discussions. And I have to ask questions and I have to ask them in a way that people are willing to hear.
I think too, what's really important for all of y'all to remember is that the questions that you ask are not like silly questions. Because half the time y'all, I'm not going to ask that question. I'm going to ask. Because then they're going to think I don't know. So what? So you don't know. Now you know. You ask the question, now you know. And what better way to empower yourself and improve your skills than to ask the why, so that you are better at what you're doing when they get to high school. And let me tell you, the elementary is not the same as middle. Middle school is not the same as high school. And I mean services that are delivered. So if you're looking for the same type of services that you receive in elementary, in high school, I will be the first one when you come to talk to me, that isn't going to happen. Because what are they doing in high school? They're preparing you for this. Career ready. What is that about? Making decisions. If I'm going to go to college, what is it going to look like? If I'm going to be supported in employment, what is that going to look like? That is what they're preparing you for. And yes, that diploma is going to help you. Sometimes kids students aren't going to have a diploma. Is that okay with you as a parent? And if it is, what does that look like for him? Not all of you have the same story. Not all of you have the same child or student. But you have answers because you raised them. So in high school, it's going to be very different, and you probably will feel very frustrated. Probably when you leave 5th, 6th grade, get into middle school, and you're going to go, what just happened? And somebody needs to guide you. But ask the teachers first. Ask the school first. If you don't get those answers that you feel satisfied with, and by the way, all you parents, we have that still small voice in our bodies, in our system. We gave birth to these kids, we know that still small voice may be stirring. It's okay. It's okay. Ask. If you can't get the answer, you can call us. We'll try to give you what we think you should hear, and we'll probably ask you to come in and meet with us. You know, we have Leilani here on the Big Island, and she will meet with you. We're in the process of looking for perhaps an office, not just for her, but to meet with parents in private. We can all meet at Starbucks or McDonald's or, Jack in the Box or something. But we're in the process of doing that, and hopefully that can be something that can be established over a period of time so that she can meet with you in person. And she can go over those documents, and you can talk about that folder that you don't have that you need to organize. Because we know, high school, you probably have a binder this thick by now. And so now we want to help you organize it. Any questions so far? Leilani, how am I doing on time? Oh gosh. Okay, so I told you, we're not going to get through everything. But that's okay. Well, some of this too, or is just really tips and tools for you, like reframing your questions. If you're asking, well, miss, how come I don't get a service like that? What you just say, miss, can you show me in my IEP where we need to contribute the information that we need so that we can work on this service? Plus, I would say, I take you one step further by making you look at those evaluations and making sure you have the information you need. What does that really mean for you is some of you in elementary school have gotten an evaluation more than once, maybe every 3 years, because that's what the law says. Every 3 years it can be considered. So maybe by high school, you've had several of those. I would probably want to look at the last 2 sets of evaluations that you have and compare that to what you have in your IEP. If it's missing information, then let's start there. Instead of asking for something that you see your neighbor has that really is not suitable for your son or your daughter, you really want to make sure this is unique to your child. So communicating that, like we were saying earlier, the delivery is going to matter. These are just examples of, statement 1. I hope you're not expecting us to sign that IEP at the end of this. So I purposely, said it just like that. Not that any of you do it, but it's the delivery. It's more like, you should be doing more work at home with your child. No, because that's what the teacher would say, or that's what you think the teacher would say. So maybe the delivery would be more like, hey, what can we do? How can we move forward from here? I'm not so sure I should be signing that IEP. And by the way, we don't sign IEPs here because at the time of consent for special education for your child is the time that you're consenting to develop an IEP. So every meeting that you have, you're not going to sign it. So as you can see, that's just an example for us, but you probably want to think about, how am I going to ask the questions that I need to ask? It's okay if you're a little wrong. Your teachers are getting to know you. They're getting to know you. And hopefully you are letting them know who you are, what you represent for your son and your daughter, and how you want your future for your children to be. These are, again, just examples of communicating on the phone. Well, some of us, and you have a handout there, so I don't have to go over this too much, but when you're calling and you're asking a question and all that kind of stuff, we take you one step further. Make sure you're writing down all the questions you ask on the phone, because it doesn't necessarily mean they'll remember. So those kinds of things you ask, you document, and then you follow up again when you're at the IEP meeting, if you've made those requests. So those are just simple tips and tools that you can think of. We can go into this all day, let me tell you. But we want you really to just take some of these nuts and bolts and consider how you are communicating to your team. That's one thing. Second is making sure you have the documents or the information you need to make informed decisions. If you don't have it or you don't know where to find it, contact your school and ask. If you don't know what the name of that tool is, or that form, or that document, you can call a friend, call us at ALTH, we'll probably tell you the name of the form, or we have copies of the forms, but they're blank. They're all blank. Is this what you're looking for? Is this what you're looking for? So we have things like that because we've been able to develop relationships within certain Department of Education schools with people who are trying to help their families together as a team. No, none of us can do this alone. I'm going to tell you that right now. We are not living on an island that we don't communicate. with the department we do. And I'm in several meetings on the state level that we talk a lot about your stories. I am able to share some of the stories because sometimes they don't hear it up there. But when they don't, they are willing to listen to you. And you too are able, you can contact them at any time. You can call your district level people. They will listen to you too. But more importantly, stay in your school, talk to your teams, make sure they hear what you're saying. But again, that 7 communication that we were talking about, be concise and know your documents. Are there any questions or anything that's pressing? Yes, ma'am. Contact from us? It's in your bag. Your hiking bag. Okay, we can get that for you. All right. Any other questions? Leilani, anything I need to cover? We're good? Okay. I told her, I'm okay with, because we had some, really good speakers come out. I said, I'm okay if somebody else wants to take my space. She said, oh no, you have to do this. Okay, Ken, you want to come up? Thank you, Leilani. It's an awesome conference, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. I am so grateful for Leadership Disabilities Achievement of Hawai'i. They have really helped my family since my son was 3. If you walk out, you'll see a picture of our family there. He's 8 now, and it has really helped me to be a stronger support and advocate for my son, because I don't know if he's gonna eat someday. He's on a feeding tube, but we're working with it. But he does have other disabilities, I want to, before I hand it over to Daintree, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, our vendors, Imiloa, K-Bikes Media. If it wasn't for all of you, this would not have happened. And I feel that what I want to say to all of you is embrace change, but also to share your story. Our stories are powerful because there's someone out there that needs your help. And I really appreciate Ebra Jean earlier to share her story before she even asked the question at the forum. So I encourage you and encourage your family who you are in contact with vendors. Please have them share their story, share what they're going through. And we're encouraging, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing talk story sessions. Our next thing that I'm planning is I'm going to be reaching out to one of our low-income housing here and sharing our story, but we're going to do a family engagement, and we're going to reach out to providers within the community to be there with us, because it's about we going to their community. Sometimes outreaches are good, but let's go into their community where they're at, because sometimes they won't open up. And it's all about trust. We gotta gain that trust. Not just there's a whole bunch of people out there that needs help. And being here a year and a half now, I hear there's a high school student that just found out that they need help. We can't have that. We gotta find out when they're young, early detection. And that's one of other programs that we have is early detection. We do vision screening, we do hearing screening, and we do ASQ, which is Ages and Stages Questionnaire. It's a developmental screening. And so we are going to be reaching out to the schools and the early education, the Office of Executive of Early Learning, we are able to do some screenings there. So look, we'll reach out to the schools. Thank you so much, and now I'll hand it out to Deji.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Hilo, for having us, LDH, for partnering up with us. Everybody for participating. We really appreciate you guys being here. Vendors, thank you so much. I know a lot of you are on that early flight with me this morning, coming over from Oahu, but we're here for you. And it's so important that you get the resources and we can leave you with some knowledge. And so thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Sierra, technically my supervisor there, she's our chair of our DD Council. Thank you for a fabulous job today. We really appreciate it. To our staff, Julia, of course, our staff from Hawaii Island, we have Chase over, and then Savannah, Fabiola, and we had Zosimo on. So our office, we're small but mighty. And so we all pitched in, and I just can't thank everybody enough for being here and helping us out. You guys have made it a success, and thank you so much, you guys, for being here all day. 4 hours is a long time. Really appreciate seeing you here. Don't forget your evaluations. Very important, so make sure you do those so we can continue doing this because it's paying off. Thank you so much. Rosie? Good. Thank you, Adrian. Okay, you guys, have a great afternoon. Stay dry. Thank you again. Bye now.